Chapter 2781, The Weakest Among the Same Realm. Shang-Qing looked at the peak heavenly sovereign skeleton king, his expression becoming serious. You are indeed unmatched among heavenly sovereigns, but using this to deal with me is still a bit lacking. Lin Moyu straightforwardly replied, naturally, I just want to give it a try. A pale yellow light rose from Shang-Qing's body. Go ahead. Lin Moyu warned, be careful. With a thought, the Dragon Cavalry Corps launched a death charge. 100 Dragon Cavalry soldiers formed a battle formation, turning into a sharp spear aimed at Shang-Qing. The skeleton generals followed closely, pouncing forward. At this moment, Lin Moyu handed over the command of the Dragon Cavalry and skeleton generals to the Corps commander, once again becoming a hands-off leader. The Corps commander raised its battle blade and let out a low roar. In an instant, the law of white bones surged, and a sea of white bones appeared. At the forefront of the Dragon Cavalry Corps, space slightly distorted, and the bone hell existed in a hidden form. A bright yellow light shone in front of Shang-Qing, and a tall yellow wall appeared out of thin air, blocking the Dragon Cavalry Corps. This was his Earth Dao, one of the 5 elemental Daos, also known as the Thick Earth Dao, primarily focused on defense. Among many Daos, its defense was extremely powerful. Boom! The yellow wall trembled, and the Dragon Cavalry Corps was shaken back. However, their charge was not entirely ineffective. A small crack appeared on the wall. Most importantly, the bone hell at the front of the Corps also impacted the wall, marking it. Unfortunately, Lin Moyu sighed inwardly. The bone hell only marked the wall, failing to mark Shang-Qing himself. The Corps commander didn't care about this and let out another low roar. The skeleton generals raised their swords in unison, their movements perfectly synchronized. Spell. Bone slash. The sea of white bones surged, and countless bones turned into sharp blades, shooting out. The yellow wall in front of Shang-Qing lit up with white sword light. The crack suddenly widened, and Shang-Qing let out a muffled groan, his brows furrowing tightly, feeling a soul-deep pain. The bone slash landed on the wall, and the soul attack from the law of white bones followed the wall, striking Shang-Qing, causing him discomfort. The wall, infused with a trace of Shang-Qing's soul power, was attacked by the law of white bones. The crack on the wall further widened, and the skeleton king finally moved. In 2 steps, it crossed a distance of 10,000 meters, arriving in front of the wall and swinging its massive bone sword, slashing down. The wall trembled and cracked further, on the verge of collapse. Shang-Qing had casually created the wall without much effort, and under the relentless attacks of the undead army, it quickly reached the point of breaking. Shang-Qing let out a light shout and punched towards Lin Moyu from a distance. The wall exploded, and the power of the Dao transformed into a giant fist, smashing towards Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu spread his undead wings, which vibrated, releasing an invisible force that broke the soul lock. He turned into a stream of light, flying into the distance, avoiding Shang-Qing's punch. A small, inconspicuous spark flashed where he had stood, only to be extinguished by Shang-Qing's punch. This spark was the bone hell, precisely controlled by Lin Moyu to mark Shang-Qing. The Corps commander seized the opportunity, raising its battle blade, fatal strike. This strike gathered not only the power of the visible Dragon Cavalry but also the power of the unsummoned Dragon Cavalry. The blade light swept towards Shang-Qing, its power reaching the peak of the heavenly sovereign realm. A yellow light shone from Shang-Qing's body as he stood firm against the Corps commander's attack. With his strength, blocking a peak heavenly sovereign's attack was effortless. The skeleton king also swung its sword. Spell. Bone slash. Behind the skeleton king, the law of white bones appeared, stronger than that of the undead army. Shang-Qing instinctively wanted to dodge but couldn't. Sword light suddenly appeared on his body. The bone slash ignored time and space, directly affecting Shang-Qing. Simultaneously, the law of white bones followed the attack, striking Shang-Qing's soul. Shang-Qing let out another muffled groan, feeling the unpleasant sensation of his soul being attacked. Lin Moyu's summoning technique wasn't particularly powerful, but each attack contained a soul attack, making it very unpleasant for Shang-Qing. Shang-Qing snorted, and the light covering his body suddenly thickened. A heavy Dao appeared on his body, transforming into armor for protection. The thick earth Dao protected not only Shang-Qing's body but also his soul. Not wanting his soul to be attacked again, Shang-Qing used the Dao for protection. With the thick earth Dao's protection, even cultivators of the same realm would find it hard to harm him. He grinned at Lin Moyu and turned into a stream of light, charging forward. Lin Moyu vibrated his undead wings to retreat, while pointing a finger. Origin level spell, Time Curse. The Time Curse affected Shang-Qing, only momentarily slowing him, which was all Lin Moyu needed. A red light flashed, and Shang-Qing, who had just started moving, suddenly froze in midair. The corps commander swung its blade, and 100 dragon cavalry soldiers pounced, not attacking Shang-Qing but surrounding him. The dragon cavalry soldiers, with their massive bodies, filled the gaps with skeleton generals. In that brief moment, Shang-Qing was surrounded by the undead, layers deep, obscuring the view from the outside. When Shang-Qing regained his senses, he saw only darkness around him. He roared, and the power of the Tao erupted, crushing the innermost layer of the undead army instantly. In an instant, more than half of the undead army was killed. The remaining undead continued to surround and attack him, producing clanging sounds like iron being struck. Lin Moyu's strategy was simple: attack regardless of effectiveness. The fallen undead disappeared, reappearing beside the corps commander, and charged back into the fray. To outsiders, it seemed Lin Moyu had summoned another batch of skeletons. Shang-Qing crushed batch after batch of undead, but Lin Moyu's summoning speed matched the destruction, filling the gaps as if endless. Indeed, his skeletons can be resummoned after death, seemingly endless. I don't believe it's truly endless. There must be a limit. Even if there's a limit, he can sustain it for a long time, that's for sure. That's how he won the last illusion round. And that's why he chose Shang-Qing, whose attack power is indeed lacking, the weakest among the same realm. Why didn't he choose me? My fire Tao could burn these guys to ashes. The prodigies discussed, analyzing Lin Moyu's tactics. Currently, Lin Moyu was using a war of attrition. This tactic was effective against Shang-Qing but not necessarily against others. It showed that Lin Moyu's combat power had reached the invincible level among heavenly sovereigns, but he still fell short of Tao sovereigns. Chapter 2782, 2782. Chapter 2782, This is the result I wanted. Shang-Qing was surrounded for a full minute, and Lin Moyu's tactics successfully delayed him for that time. A mid-level heavenly sovereign facing a prodigy Tao sovereign and managing to delay for a minute was already very impressive. Shang-Qing's voice came from within the encirclement, "That's enough." It was clear from his voice that he was already somewhat angry. Lin Moyu's tactics were too rogue, purely stalling for time. Hearing Shang-Qing's voice, Lin Moyu quickly retreated, moving far away, almost to the edge of the arena. Boom! Yellow light exploded, and the thick earth Tao surged like a tsunami, crushing all the undead army surrounding him with the power of the great Tao. At this moment, a fist-sized lich appeared in Lin Moyu's hand. The star arrow lich flashed with a faint light and, at an astonishing speed, shot through the area intertwined with the great Tao. Shang-Qing's heart alarmed, instinctively wanting to retreat while simultaneously summoning the power of the great Tao for defense. However, before his great Tao power could fully retract, the faint light had already landed on him. With a soft sound, a bloodline appeared on Shang-Qing's shoulder as the arrow pierced his shoulder. Although it didn't penetrate deeply, as the star arrow lich didn't use the full power of the arrow Tao, Lin Moyu had hidden the star arrow lich's strength. The arrowhead merely pierced the shoulder, causing a superficial wound. The wound on Shang-Qing's shoulder quickly healed, and in the blink of an eye, it was as good as new, except for the bloodstain that indicated he had indeed been injured. The audience was in an uproar. Shang-Qing actually got injured. How did he do it? What is that thing? Did he summon it too? It was so fast, I couldn't even see it clearly. Although the attack wasn't strong, only causing a superficial wound, it's still impressive. If the opponent wasn't a Tao sovereign but a heavenly sovereign, this strike would at least cause serious injury or even death. Shang-Qing also looked at Lin Moyu with incredulity. As a prodigy Tao sovereign, he had been injured by a mid-level heavenly sovereign. It was unbelievable. Shang-Qing asked, "Did you summon this too?" Lin Moyu admitted openly, "Yes." He snapped his fingers, and the previously destroyed undead army reappeared, not one more, not one less. The undead army formed a battle formation, standing in front of Lin Moyu. It was clear that Lin Moyu was determined to stall to the end. Shang-Qing took a deep breath, "Since that's the case, I won't hold back." He summoned the Great Tao to envelop his body again, but this time, a giant whip evolved from the Great Tao appeared in his hand. Shang-Qing said, "The whip evolved from my Great Tao is very powerful." When you can't withstand it, you can call for a stop. Don't force yourself. Lin Moyu replied, Senior, please proceed. I understand. Shangqing swung the great Dao whip. His movements were not fast, appearing somewhat laborious. But the moment he swung the whip, the entire arena was filled with the power of the great Dao, and the whip seemed to be everywhere, attacking from all directions. Lin Moyu had seen this technique during previous battles. However, watching from the outside was far less intense than experiencing it firsthand. Lin Moyu spread his undead wings and dodged the whip shadows. The undead army exploded, breaking into smaller units, maneuvering through the gaps in the whip shadows. Some whip shadows were real, some were illusions. Lin Moyu vibrated his undead wings, constantly dodging. With his strong spiritual sense, dodging wasn't difficult for Lin Moyu. The undead army, however, wasn't as agile as Lin Moyu. They were frequently hit by the whip, turning to dust upon impact, offering no resistance. But it didn't matter, the dead undead would reappear in the blink of an eye. It seemed as if Lin Moyu was summoning them again. The spectators had already accepted this as normal, assuming Lin Moyu could continuously summon them for a long time. While dodging, the undead army also launched attacks. Shangqing stood still, taking all the attacks head-on. The undead army's attacks were futile against Shangqing. He stood like an indestructible fortress, focusing all his efforts on attacking the enemy. Shangqing's whip movements gradually accelerated, the whip shadows becoming denser, leaving fewer gaps. Lin Moyu had a sudden thought: if he had a powerful artifact to compensate for his lack of attack power, he would be an insurmountable humanoid fortress. Unfortunately, he still has flaws. Defeating him without revealing my strength is difficult, but stalling him isn't. The whip shadows grew denser, leaving Lin Moyu less and less space. Soon, the whip shadows would fill the entire arena, and that would be the moment Lin Moyu was eliminated. Almost everyone thought so. Spell. Arrow Dao. The star arrow lich in Lin Moyu's hand transformed into an arrow and shot out again. This time, it was faster and more powerful, yet quieter. Most of the prodigies watching didn't notice the star arrow lich's attack. This time, the star arrow lich used the full power of the arrow Dao, increasing its strength 100-fold. With a soft sound, a bloodline appeared on Shangqing's shoulder again. The whip shadows shattered, and Shangqing's body was thrown back, a baby-sized hole appearing in his shoulder. The star arrow lich, using the full power of the arrow Dao, pierced through Shangqing's great Dao defense and embedded itself in his shoulder. However, Shangqing's great Dao defense wasn't just external, it covered his entire body, inside and out. The star arrow lich couldn't penetrate completely, stopping halfway. But the immense force still knocked Shangqing back, leaving a wound. Blood flowed from the wound, and the flesh quickly healed. A Dao sovereign's recovery speed was astonishing, and such a wound would heal in less than 2 minutes. The injury wasn't significant, but Shangqing's offensive was interrupted. If Shangqing wanted to attack again, he would have to start over, wasting more time. Shangqing looked at Lin Moyu with a complex expression. I didn't expect your summoned creature to be so powerful. Lin Moyu replied, this is my limit. To you, senior, it's just a superficial wound. Shangqing glared at Lin Moyu. A superficial wound isn't enough. Lin Moyu was just a mid-level heavenly sovereign, yet he could injure a Dao sovereign. That was already extraordinary. Moreover, he had injured someone like Shangqing, who specialized in defense. If it were another Dao sovereign, that arrow might have gone through completely. If the arrow had hit the forehead, even a Dao sovereign would have been in serious trouble. Lin Moyu smiled. Senior, shall we continue? Shangqing snorted. Continue. How long would this go on? His great Dao whip needed time to build momentum, but Lin Moyu's star arrow lich could interrupt him at the last moment, yet Lin Moyu couldn't kill him. It seemed like a stalemate. Lin Moyu suggested, Senior, how about we call it a draw? Shangqing, straightforward as ever, replied, a draw it is. Do you want to fight until the end of time? Lin Moyu smiled. This is the result I wanted. Chapter 2783, 2783. Chapter 2783, how did he guess that? The duel between Lin Moyu and Shangqing ended in a draw, a result that was completely unexpected. In the history of the Prodigy Gathering, there had never been a tie. When Xiahou Yuan announced the draw, it meant that Lin Moyu had once again made history. The Dao sovereigns on the sidelines finally reacted after a moment. That last strike of his was incredibly fast. Yes, I thought his previous attacks were already fast, but this one was even faster. Even Shangqing's thick earth Dao couldn't block it. Wouldn't that mean we couldn't block it either? That strike would definitely leave a hole. Although it wouldn't be life-threatening, it would certainly be very embarrassing. Yes, if it hit the head, it might blow half of it off. The Dao sovereigns discussed among themselves, and their gazes towards Lin Moyu changed. Lin Moyu's strength, while not enough to kill them, was definitely comparable to that of an ordinary Dao sovereign. A mid-level heavenly sovereign comparable to a first-realm Dao sovereign was an incredible feat. In the eyes of many prodigies, this duel was more exciting than the dozens of previous duels. Lin Moyu's performance left a deep impression on them. Many prodigies imagined themselves in his place, thinking about how they would respond if they faced Lin Moyu's final strike. Many realized they had no good way to counter it. The only solution was to kill Lin Moyu as quickly as possible. Not just the prodigies, but even the Dao sovereigns outside the array discussed it. This little guy exceeded expectations. He's truly astonishing. A rare genius indeed. He will undoubtedly have a place among the prodigies in the future. Why wait for the future? With his current abilities, if we disregard his realm, he already qualifies as a prodigy. No, he's stronger than an ordinary prodigy. It's a pity, such a person. As soon as these words were spoken, the atmosphere changed, and a faint killing intent began to grow. Xiahou Yuan's true body suddenly opened his eyes and scanned the Dao sovereigns. His voice was calm yet authoritative. This child is fated with me. With these words, all the Dao sovereigns' expressions changed, and the atmosphere returned to normal. Xiahou Yuan had made his stance clear. Saying that Lin Moyu was fated with him was no joke. It was a warning to everyone. Anyone who dared to harm Lin Moyu would be making an enemy of him. Xiahou Yuan's strength was unfathomable, and no one knew his true limits. Only the ancestors of the top forces knew the extent of Xiahou Yuan's power. Was it worth offending such a mysterious and powerful figure for a potential rising star? The duel between Lin Moyu and Shangqing ended, signaling the start of the final 16-strong competition. The results of this competition would determine who would earn the title of the strongest prodigy. Lin Moyu had just returned to his seat and hadn't even sat down when Xiahou Yuan's voice suddenly sounded in his ear. The third ancestor wants to see you. Before Lin Moyu could react, a light descended from the sky, and he disappeared. Lu Lian directly used an array to take Lin Moyu away. Simultaneously, Xiahou Yuan announced, the 16-strong competition begins. In a mysterious space where time moved much slower than the outside world, Lin Moyu found himself once again. This was the space belonging to the third ancestor, and it was Lin Moyu's second time here. The last time, Lu Lian had brought him in, but this time it was even more abrupt, directly transporting him. A light condensed in front of him, and the third ancestor appeared in his sight. The third ancestor had a slight smile, still looking as carefree as ever, completely at odds with his age. Little guy, bringing you here directly, you're not angry, are you? Lin Moyu replied, how could I dare to be angry when the third ancestor summons me? The third ancestor laughed, let's pretend you're not angry. Lin Moyu said, third ancestor, please don't joke. If you have any instructions, just say it. The third ancestor still wore a smile, his voice unhurried, I want to ask you, what do you think of the prodigy gathering? Lin Moyu looked at the third ancestor, who also looked at him. Their eyes met, as if trying to read each other's thoughts. After a moment of silence, Lin Moyu spoke, what do you think I should think? The third ancestor laughed, that's my question to you. Why are you asking me back? Lin Moyu smiled, I don't know what answer you want to hear. The third ancestor chuckled, I want to hear any answer. They were like two old foxes, probing each other. Lin Moyu said, so I can say anything. The third ancestor replied, of course, say whatever you want. Lin Moyu asked, what if I say something I shouldn't? Will you blame me? The third ancestor finally showed a hint of impatience, little fox, stop wasting time and just say it. Lin Moyu laughed, third ancestor, your patience isn't very good. The third ancestor snorted, just say it. Lin Moyu said, all right, since you want to hear it so much, I'll tell you. Actually, the prodigy gathering is about gathering fortune, concentrating the fortune of 100 prodigies into one. Although it's only a portion of their fortune, it's still significant. I don't know if it can reach the level of great fortune, but I feel it's not far off and can last for a while. But what's the use of gathering so much fortune? Is it just for cultivation? I don't think so. I believe there's something else to be done after the prodigy gathering, something that requires fortune. That task should be quite difficult. The prodigy gathering has been held for so many years without changing locations, indicating that the task has never been completed. The task should be close to the mall, or even within it, so the fortune needs to be maintained here, hence no change of location. Lin Moyu paused. The third ancestor waited for a while and, seeing Lin Moyu not speaking, urged, "Don't stop. I know you have more guesses. Speak up." Lin Moyu sighed, "What I'm about to say is pure speculation. If I'm wrong, don't laugh at me. If I'm right, don't kill me to silence me. I guessed that there's something behind the prodigy gathering, and I wondered what it could be. For the prodigy gathering to reach its current scale, involving all major forces in the southern continent, there must be a driving force behind it. And the driving force must be someone like you, but you alone wouldn't be enough. I estimate that all 9 top forces in the southern continent are involved." Then I thought further. For so many top forces and their top experts to participate for so many years, it must be something very significant. It can't be about the growth of the prodigies. Although they are important, they aren't that important. So I deduced that it must be related to you all. If I'm not mistaken, it should be about breaking through the Tao sovereign realm. As he spoke, Lin Moyu observed the third ancestor's expression, noticing that it wasn't quite normal. If there was any abnormality, he would stop speaking. The third ancestor was listening intently, and when Lin Moyu suddenly stopped, he frowned. "Why did you stop? Keep talking." Chapter 2784, 2784. Chapter 2784, Let's go, we're going in. Lin Moyu spread his hands. "I'm done talking." The third ancestor said, "Done talking my foot. Hurry up and tell me what you think about realms above the Tao sovereign." Lin Moyu replied, "You're overestimating me. I'm not even at the Tao sovereign realm yet." The third ancestor looked at him skeptically. "Hurry up and say something, even if it's nonsense. Just make something up for me." Seeing the third ancestor's expression, Lin Moyu realized he wouldn't be let go unless he said something. With a bit of helplessness, he said, "All right, I'll make something up. Just treat it as a story. When I became the son of Tai Yin, I seemed to see something. It looked like a starry sky world on the origin continent. In that starry sky, there were many dazzling great Taos. Within the great Taos, there were beings, including humans, demons, and Buddhists. I could feel that these beings were very strong, seemingly integrated with the great Tao, much stronger than the Tao sovereigns." As Lin Moyu spoke, he continued to observe the third ancestor's expression. When he mentioned the great Taos in the starry sky, the third ancestor's expression showed a trace of longing and a bit of nostalgia. Could it be that the third ancestor has been there? Or has he seen it and wants to go there? Lin Moyu speculated in his heart and continued, "Besides the beings in the great Taos, I saw several powerful existences on some of the great Taos. They gave me the feeling that they were not just beings within the great Taos but more like the masters of the great Taos." The third ancestor suddenly murmured, but his voice was so soft that Lin Moyu couldn't hear clearly. Lin Moyu asked, "Third ancestor, what did you say?" The third ancestor replied, "Nothing. That experience felt like a dream. I don't know if it was real or not. Just treat it as my nonsense." The third ancestor pondered, "You weren't dreaming. It should be the Tai Yin origin showing you some real things. But these things are still far from you. Even if you see them, they won't be of much use." Lin Moyu nodded slightly. "I understand." He knew he wasn't dreaming, what he saw was real. But he also understood that those things were too far from his reach. In terms of realm, he was still far from the Tao sovereign. The origin continent had strict hierarchies. Without the right realm, no matter how strong one's combat power, some things couldn't be changed. The third ancestor asked, "Think carefully. How many people did you see on the great Taos?" Lin Moyu thought for a moment. "Not many, no more than 10. The third ancestor continued, "Could you distinguish which great Taos they were?" Lin Moyu answered honestly, "My realm is insufficient to distinguish them." At that time, he did see the great Taos, but he couldn't tell which ones they were. The third ancestor sighed, "All right, you've said a lot. I can't let you go unrewarded. I'll grant you a promise. You can ask me to do something within my power." Lin Moyu's eyes lit up. "Actually, I do have something." The third ancestor said, "No rush. Think it over before you say it. Don't waste this promise." Lin Moyu replied, I have a short-sighted view. I can't think too far ahead. It's better to deal with something immediate. The third ancestor scrutinized Lin Moyu, knowing that someone as cunning as Lin Moyu couldn't be short-sighted. Since you say so, what is it? Lin Moyu took out a cracked Buddha bead. Please help me remove the soul imprint on this bead. The third ancestor took the bead and, after sensing it, showed a surprised expression. This is the bead of the three-eyed free Buddha. Lin Moyu nodded. You have sharp eyes, third ancestor. I obtained this bead by chance, but it has the soul imprint of the three-eyed free Buddha, which I can't remove. The third ancestor asked, what do you intend to do with it after removing the soul imprint? Lin Moyu replied, I have my own use for it. Can you remove the imprint? The third ancestor said, if the soul imprint was left after he became a free Buddha, it would be troublesome. Fortunately, the imprint was left before he became a free Buddha, so it's not difficult to remove. Since you won't say what it's for, I won't ask. But are you sure you want to use this promise for this? Many people can do this, like that old guy Shaho Yuan. Lin Moyu said, I understand, but favors are hard to repay. The third ancestor didn't persuade further. The Buddha bead floated from his palm, and a powerful soul force shot from the third ancestor's forehead. Lin Moyu felt the entire space twist, and time seemed to become chaotic under this soul force. So strong. Lin Moyu's heart trembled. The third ancestor's soul force was even stronger than the Thunder Taoists. The Thunder Taoist was a ninth realm Tao sovereign who had once attempted to break through the Tao sovereign realm. Although he failed, his soul force was already stronger than other Tao sovereigns of the same realm. But the third ancestor's soul force seemed no weaker than the Thunder Taoists. Could it be that the third ancestor also attempted to break through the Tao sovereign realm? The third ancestor's soul force enveloped the Buddha bead, and after a few seconds, a light sound was heard. Amitabha. A Buddha's voice echoed, and a Buddha's shadow appeared on the bead. The third ancestor snorted disdainfully, a mere soul imprint dares to show off. With a shake of his soul force, the Buddha's shadow shattered, and another crack appeared on the bead, almost breaking it. The third ancestor tossed the bead back to Lin Moyu. The soul imprint is removed. I don't know what you want it for. Lin Moyu sensed the remaining aura on the bead. Although the soul imprint was gone, it still had a strong Buddhist aura and remained a valuable Buddhist artifact. Lin Moyu put away the bead. Thank you, third ancestor. May I ask why you summoned me? Lin Moyu didn't believe the third ancestor called him just to chat and ask about his guesses. The third ancestor said, I saw your expression during the gathering and knew you had guessed the purpose behind it. You're right. There is something to be done after the prodigy gathering. I called you here for that. Lin Moyu was curious about what it could be. The third ancestor spoke to the void. Lu Lian, open the passage. Lu Lian's voice responded, all right. In the mall, Lu Lian was the chief steward, omnipresent and always available. Lin Moyu felt the space twist, and a portal appeared. On the other side of the portal, a vast and pure source of power surged out. The third ancestor waved his hand, creating a clone. Let's go in. Chapter 2785, 2785. Chapter 2785, one of the 5 ninth grade origin spirit veins. A brief teleportation seemed to take only an instant. Judging by the time, the teleportation distance was very short. But whether it was really short, Lin Moyu couldn't accurately judge. The time during teleportation was chaotic. In fact, the time in the third ancestor's place was chaotic. Using ordinary methods to judge would certainly be incorrect. An extremely dense source of power rushed towards Lin Moyu, making him feel as if his soul was being impacted, giving him a sense of floating as if he were about to ascend to immortality. An origin spirit vein, and a very high-grade one at that. Not just 8th grade, but a 9th grade origin spirit vein. The Lufeng Merchant Guild actually possesses a 9th grade origin spirit vein. In the origin continent, it had been a long time since a 9th grade origin spirit vein appeared. For millions of years, the 9 top forces in the southern continent had been pursuing 9th grade origin spirit veins but had never succeeded. No one knew why this was the case. Lin Moyu also learned through the vast amount of information he purchased that the 9 top forces currently possessed only 8th grade origin spirit veins. In Thunder Mountain, the Thunder Taoist also possessed an 8th grade origin spirit vein. It seemed to be on the verge of advancing to the 9th grade, but when it would actually advance was still unknown. Unexpectedly, today Lin Moyu discovered that the Lufeng Merchant Guild possessed a 9th grade spirit vein. How could he not be surprised? The third ancestor's voice sounded in his ear. How is it? Surprised. The entire origin continent now has only 5 ninth-grade origin spirit veins, and this is one of them. Feel it well, remember its aura, it might be useful in the future. Lin Moyu asked, only 5 are left. Where are the other 4 origin spirit veins? The third ancestor replied, of the remaining 4, 2 are in the eastern continent, one controlled by the demon royal court, and the other by the eastern spirit empire. The other 2 are not in the eastern continent, one in the hands of the king of the Sea of Realms, and the other with the dragon clan. Lin Moyu was puzzled. Isn't it said that spirit beasts don't need origin spirit veins? The third ancestor laughed. Needing and possessing are 2 different things. Indeed, needing and possessing are different matters. Lin Moyu asked again. It's said that there are many origin spirit veins in the Sea of Realms, with quite a few 8th grade origin spirit veins. Why is there only one 9th grade origin spirit vein? The third ancestor replied, what you really want to ask is why there are so few 9th grade origin spirit veins in the origin continent. Lin Moyu remained silent, not answering. The third ancestor continued, the matter of the 9th grade origin spirit veins is too ancient to discuss. Just know that there are only 5 left. Adding another one is not impossible but extremely difficult. Lin Moyu naturally understood that if it were simple, the top forces wouldn't have struggled for so many years without success. Feeling the aura of the origin spirit vein, Lin Moyu thought for a moment, if I'm not mistaken, advancing to the 9th realm of Dao Sovereign requires the support of a 9th grade origin spirit vein. The third ancestor, who had been searching for direction since they arrived, finally found the right path. Let's go, we'll talk as we walk. The third ancestor stepped forward, and Lin Moyu immediately followed. The place was shrouded in mist, visibility limited to just a meter ahead, even for someone with Lin Moyu's eyesight. There seemed to be no path, each step feeling soft as if stepping on cotton. With each step, a dense source of power surged up from beneath his feet. Lin Moyu couldn't help but wonder if he was walking within the origin spirit vein, finding the sensation quite strange. The third ancestor's voice came through the mist. There are several ways to break through to the Dao Sovereign realm, the path isn't singular. However, using a 9th grade origin spirit vein is the simplest path. Other paths are much harder. The issue now isn't the 9th grade origin spirit vein but something else. You'll know soon enough. The third ancestor said no more and continued walking. He constantly adjusted his direction, sometimes stopping to reorient himself. The third ancestor spoke again, don't find it strange. We're walking within the origin spirit vein. The path of a 9th grade origin spirit vein is complex and ever-changing, with no fixed route. Lin Moyu had already guessed that the interior of the origin spirit vein wasn't static. It was like the root system of a large tree, intertwined and interwoven. Although the destination was the same, the routes were different. After many twists and turns, they finally reached their destination. They emerged from the misty area, and the view before them opened up. What is this place? Lin Moyu felt a familiar aura, the aura of death. The place was filled with death energy, giving it a sinister feel. The death energy permeated everywhere, trying to invade his body. The third ancestor said, the death energy here will corrode the source of power, erode the flesh and soul. With your realm, you won't last long. As he spoke, he waved his hand, and a vast source of power enveloped Lin Moyu. Simultaneously, the third ancestor's body shone brightly, enveloped in the source of power, resisting the pervasive death energy. Lin Moyu didn't feel any danger, on the contrary, he found the death energy quite friendly. The death energy that the third ancestor said could corrode the flesh and soul felt harmless to Lin Moyu. However, he didn't show it and accepted the third ancestor's protection. Thank you, third ancestor. What is this place? The third ancestor pointed ahead. Look over there. What do you see? Lin Moyu looked in the direction the third ancestor pointed. The death energy was like a fog, making everything seem blurred and indistinct. But the death energy wasn't a problem for Lin Moyu. With a flash of light in his eyes, he saw through the death energy. It was a tall mountain, devoid of life due to the death energy. There were no living beings, no plants, and even the rocks were decayed. But this decayed mountain glowed with divine light, intertwined with the death energy, creating a bizarre and eerie scene. The divine light was extraordinary, and Lin Moyu felt the power of the great Tao from it. His gaze deepened, wanting to see what lay beyond the divine light. He was certain that there was something beyond the divine light. His pupils contracted slightly, and he finally saw what lay beyond. There were cemeteries and tombstones scattered among the decayed rocks. Looking up, he saw a large tomb at the mountain's peak. In front of the tomb, a long spear was thrust into the ground, its tip pointing to the sky, as if trying to pierce the heavens. Lin Moyu instinctively felt that the spear wasn't trying to pierce the sky of the origin continent but an unknown sky. The third ancestor's voice rang out, "Did you see it?" Lin Moyu nodded, "I saw some. There's a mountain, tombs, and a spear." The third ancestor suddenly laughed, "You really can see it. I wasn't wrong about you." Lin Moyu asked, "What exactly is that place?" Chapter 2786, 2786. Chapter 2786, The Tomb of the Great Sect. The third ancestor said, "That is a legacy." "A legacy? Whose legacy?" Lin Moyu expressed his confusion. The third ancestor explained, "That place is the burial ground of a great sect from countless years ago." Lin Moyu's heart trembled. It was indeed the burial ground of a great sect. A burial ground of a sect means that the entire sect suffered an unavoidable disaster, leading to its complete annihilation and burial. That mountain buried the entire sect. The third ancestor continued, "You don't need to know too many details. Even I don't know all the details. I can only tell you that in their era, that sect was unparalleled. The legacy within can help one break through the Tao sovereign realm and reach a level beyond." Unfortunately, Lin Moyu interjected, "Unfortunately, so many prodigies over the years have failed to succeed." The third ancestor sighed, "Yes, none have succeeded. To obtain that legacy requires immense fortune. We hold the prodigy gathering to gather the fortune of the prodigies, hoping to acquire that legacy." He sighed deeply again, "But it's been failure after failure." Lin Moyu said, "Although there have been failures, there must have been some gains, otherwise, you would have given up long ago." The third ancestor chuckled, "You think it's that simple? Gathering fortune is easy, but finding someone who can bear it is the real challenge. Everyone has their destiny. Not everyone can bear immense fortune. Sometimes, too much fortune can turn into misfortune. Once it turns into misfortune, even a prodigy can die from calamity." Lin Moyu understood the principle of extremes leading to opposites. He knew that some things shouldn't be overdone. Going too far could be counterproductive. The third ancestor and others had tried various methods over the years to seek the legacy. Lin Moyu asked, "Why did you bring me here today and tell me all this?" The third ancestor laughed, "Why do you think?" Lin Moyu felt a bit helpless. He wasn't a fool, he knew the answer. To obtain the legacy, one needed immense fortune, and although his realm wasn't high, his fortune was quite strong. The third ancestor clearly valued his fortune. To obtain the legacy, fortune is just one aspect. One also needs comprehension and a firm Tao heart. All are indispensable. This time, besides a few prodigies, I hope you can try as well. Lin Moyu instinctively asked, "Is it dangerous?" The third ancestor replied, "There is some danger, but not much. Based on past experiences, the death rate is less than 20%. 20% may not seem high, but it's not low either. Risking a 20% chance of death for someone else's matter was a risky deal." The third ancestor seemed to see through Lin Moyu's thoughts and laughed, "You're calculating the gains and losses, aren't you? As long as you go, regardless of success or failure, I will grant you a favor." Lin Moyu asked, "Anything?" The third ancestor replied, "Of course not. Everything has its limits. If you gain something inside, it's naturally yours. We only take what we need. If you obtain the legacy to break through the Tao sovereign realm, wouldn't that be a good thing for you? I can also promise that when you need to break through in the future, you can use the origin spirit vein at will." Lin Moyu laughed, "Don't paint me a rosy picture. I'm afraid I might smell the aroma but not get to eat the cake." The third ancestor snorted, "Are you going or not?" Lin Moyu sighed, "If I say no, will you kill me now?" The third ancestor coldly replied, "What do you think?" Lin Moyu sighed again, "To save my life, I have no choice but to go." The third ancestor laughed, "You cheeky brat." Lin Moyu knew the third ancestor was joking. Even if he refused, the third ancestor wouldn't really kill him. However, Lin Moyu was also interested in the legacy of that great sect. The third ancestor said, "I'll give you the detailed information later. You can review it, it might be helpful." Lin Moyu looked again at the stone mountain. The mountain was filled with death energy and shrouded in divine light, making it difficult to see clearly. Even with his full effort, Lin Moyu could only discern some details. he discovered that the stone mountain was integrated with the 9th grade origin spirit vein. To be precise, it used the power of the 9th grade origin spirit vein to maintain the entire mountain. Because of this, the divine light within the mountain had not diminished over the years. Lin Moyu even suspected that the 9th grade origin spirit vein of the Lu Feng Merchant Guild might have been left by that great sect. It wasn't impossible. Third ancestor, who bought the rebirth root back then? Lin Moyu suddenly asked. The third ancestor had mentioned that the rebirth root was sold for a top-tier 9th grade origin spirit vein. The third ancestor chuckled. You don't think our guild's 9th grade origin spirit vein is the same one, do you? The rebirth root was indeed sold for a top-tier 9th grade origin spirit vein, but I was just a middleman and didn't gain much from it. That top-tier 9th grade origin spirit vein didn't stay on the origin continent, otherwise, there would be a 6th 9th grade origin spirit vein here. Our guild's 9th grade origin spirit vein isn't top tier, but among the 5 existing ones, it's the best. The third ancestor's words had 2 implications. First, he was telling Lin Moyu not to reveal the identities of the rebirth root's buyer and seller. Second, he was emphasizing that the Lu Feng Merchant Guild's 9th grade origin spirit vein was the best among the existing ones. If Lin Moyu wanted to advance to a higher realm, he would inevitably rely on it. In essence, the 9th grade origin spirit vein was a significant bargaining chip for the third ancestor, who believed that as long as Lin Moyu wanted to cultivate, he couldn't escape its influence. Lin Moyu understood that not only was it difficult for him to escape, but the ancient beings in the 9 top forces of the southern continent couldn't escape either. Therefore, the Lu Feng Merchant Guild's position was very stable. Unless they could find another 9th grade origin spirit vein, they had no choice but to cooperate with the Lu Feng Merchant Guild. The third ancestor looked at Lin Moyu with a smile, as if he had already secured Lin Moyu. There were no tricks, just a tempting offer that Lin Moyu found hard to refuse. Lin Moyu took a deep breath and said, "One last question." The third ancestor, feeling pleased, readily agreed, "Go ahead." Lin Moyu asked, "If I accidentally obtain the spear at the top of the mountain, who does it belong to?" The third ancestor frowned. "You little fox, you're putting me in a difficult position." Lin Moyu smiled. "Is it difficult? You should have the authority to decide this. The third ancestor, as the local authority, should have the power to make such decisions. If he didn't, it would mean he couldn't guarantee Lin Moyu's safety, making cooperation impossible. Lin Moyu didn't want to face the top Foss's ancient beings with ill intentions afterward. Chapter 2787, 2787. Chapter 2787. The Lich of the Buddha Kingdom advances. After a moment of silence, the third ancestor finally spoke. "If you truly obtain that spear, it will be yours. However, I will need to borrow it for research for a period." Lin Moyu immediately asked, "How long?" The third ancestor replied, 10 years. "No problem," Lin Moyu agreed without hesitation. 10 years wasn't a long time, and given the third ancestor's status, he was unlikely to go back on his word. If he did, it would mean Lin Moyu had misjudged his character and would have to accept the consequences. Moreover, Lin Moyu wasn't even sure if he could get the spear. Although he had confidence in his fortune, many prodigies had failed before him, so he wasn't certain of success. The two left the origin spirit vein and returned to the space where the third ancestor resided. Upon their return, Lu Lian's voice was the first to greet them. "The prodigy gathering has ended." Lin Moyu realized that time was chaotic in the place he was, and he had no idea how much time had passed in the outside world. He asked, "Miss Lian, how long has it been outside?" Lu Lian answered truthfully, 3 days. 3 days had passed, no wonder the prodigy gathering had ended. When they arrived, only the top 16 remained, and even with a round-robin format, it wouldn't take long. Lin Moyu asked, "What was the final result?" As he spoke, a list of names appeared before his eyes. As expected, the Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus secured the top spot and earned the title of the strongest prodigy. The second place was somewhat surprising, awarded to the Holy Son of the Myriad Illusions. Although he didn't get the title of the strongest prodigy, being second was still impressive and qualified him as a contender for the successor of the Myriad Illusions' Holy Land. Third place went to Dongfang Wuan. When Lin Moyu left, he was in second place but was eventually surpassed by the Holy Son of the Myriad Illusions. This indicated that the Holy Son of the Myriad Illusions had superior combat strength. Combat strength was crucial for ranking among prodigies. The young master of the Three Spirits sect, Wang Tianling, ranked 4th. 5th place went to the Holy Maiden of the Seven Stars Holy Land, Kai Sha, while Jiyu Baiquan of the Cold Water Holy Land ranked 6th, slightly higher than his initial position. 7th place was Wu Xingchen of the Wu family from Crackwind Cliff, and 8th place went to Wang Daocheng, the successor of the Heavenly Inquiry Dao sect. 9th place was Jian Zhuxuan, the successor of the Heavenly Sword sect. 10th place was taken by Lu Fengyao. As expected, the top 10 were dominated by the 9 top forces plus the Lu Feng Merchant Guild. This was the norm, as most prodigy gatherings ended this way. Occasionally, the Lu Feng Merchant Guild might miss out, but the 9 top forces consistently occupied the top 9 spots. After reading the list, Lin Moyu asked the third ancestor, how many will participate? The third ancestor replied, 5, the top 3, Fengyao, and you. Lin Moyu was curious, is it always 5? The third ancestor explained, not necessarily. It can be anywhere from 3 to 6, depending on fortune. This time, the Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus has enough fortune to spare, so the top 3 qualify. Fengyao was predetermined, and you were added by me at the last minute. Lin Moyu shrugged, all right, it's all up to you. When do we start? The third ancestor said, there are still some preparations to be made. Lu Lian will notify you in 3 days, and you can prepare in the meantime. If you have any fortune-related treasures, keep them handy just in case. If not, you can ask Lu Lian to buy some. The same goes for life-saving treasures, it's up to you. Lin Moyu chuckled, no matter the situation, you never forget to do business. The third ancestor replied matter-of-factly, I am a businessman by nature. Leaving the third ancestor's space, Lin Moyu initially wanted to find Lu Fengyao to congratulate her. Lu Lian informed him that Lu Fengyao had already left to prepare for the upcoming exploration task. Lin Moyu didn't know what preparations they were making, but since they would meet in a few days, he wasn't in a hurry. Returning to his courtyard, Lin Moyu activated the array and entered his soul world. In his soul world, he held a nearly shattered Buddha bead, from which a strong Buddhist aura emanated. The bead, left by the three-eyed free Buddha, was a powerful Buddhist artifact, nurtured by Buddhist teachings over time. Even with the soul imprint of the three-eyed free Buddha removed, the bead remained powerful. The Lich of the Buddha Kingdom appeared in the soul world, and Lin Moyu handed the bead to it, can you absorb it this time? Previously, the Lich of the Buddha Kingdom couldn't absorb the bead due to the soul imprint of the three-eyed free Buddha. The Lich of the Buddha Kingdom grasped the bead, and with a chant, it swallowed the bead. The bead melted within the Lich, causing it to emit a golden light, transforming into a golden Buddha. The golden body is a highly regarded practice in Buddhism, and nearly every Buddhist disciple strives to cultivate it throughout their life. Those who achieve the golden body are considered qualified Buddhist disciples. The golden body also has many levels. As the Lich of the Buddha Kingdom transformed into a golden Buddha, it floated in the air, and a Buddha Kingdom naturally appeared beneath it. Countless followers chanted Buddhist scriptures, infusing the Lich with boundless Buddhist power. The Lich's aura grew stronger, rapidly advancing through several realms, reaching the peak of the Heavenly Sovereign Realm. In Buddhism, this realm is known as the Peak Ancient Buddha. The bead left by the three-eyed free Buddha was incredibly powerful, and the Peak Ancient Buddha wasn't its limit. After a brief pause, 10 purple threads appeared on the Lich's golden body. The purple threads emitted a faint glow, turning the golden body into a noble purple gold. A light wheel appeared behind the Lich, shining like the sun. The Lich of the Buddha Kingdom had officially advanced to a one-wheel ancient Buddha, equivalent to a Tao sovereign in human terms. But this wasn't the end. The light wheel grew brighter, and upon reaching its peak, it split into 2. The Lich of the Buddha Kingdom became a two-wheel ancient Buddha. Its aura continued to strengthen, still not reaching its limit. After all, it's an artifact left by the free Buddha. Its effect is remarkable. Due to his limited understanding of Buddhist artifacts, Lin Moyu could only make a rough judgment. With the soul imprint of the three-eyed free Buddha, the bead could exert the power of a six-wheel ancient Buddha, comparable to a sixth-realm Tao sovereign. Without the soul imprint, the bead's material alone was equivalent to a fourth-realm Tao sovereign artifact. Factoring in the summoning element, Lin Moyu estimated that the Lich of the Buddha Kingdom could advance to a three-wheel ancient Buddha, equivalent to a third-realm Tao sovereign. Now it seemed there shouldn't be any problem. After a while, the Lich's aura surged again, and a third light wheel appeared. The Lich of the Buddha Kingdom successfully advanced to a three-wheel ancient Buddha. Chapter 2788, 2788. Chapter 2788, The Ruins of the Prehistoric God-Slaying Sect. Lich of the Buddha Kingdom. Realm, Third Realm of Tao Sovereign. Grade, Perfect, Growth Limit, None. Spells, Eternal Buddha Kingdom, Path of Fate, Conversion. Eternal Buddha Kingdom. *** creates an eternal Buddha kingdom that can absorb souls to become followers. The more followers, the stronger the Lich of the Buddha Kingdom. Follower limit, 50 million. Path of Fate. *** harnesses the power of the Great Tao to peer into the future and find the weaknesses of enemies, allowing for targeted attacks. Usable once per day. Conversion. *** forces enemies to convert and become followers of the eternal Buddha Kingdom, becoming a source of power for the Lich of the Buddha Kingdom. After the aura of the Lich of the Buddha Kingdom stabilized, Lin Moyu immediately checked its attributes. The realm of the Lich of the Buddha Kingdom was not represented using the Buddhist realm system. Lin Moyu recalled that it had always been this way. The realm of the Lich of the Buddha Kingdom was always represented using the human cultivator's realm system. The realm is just a label. As long as it can be understood, it doesn't really matter. The Buddhist realm and the human cultivation realm actually correspond to each other, with only slight differences in representation. After the Lich of the Buddha Kingdom advanced to the third realm of Tao Sovereign, its spells underwent some changes. The Eternal Buddha Kingdom could now accommodate 50 million followers, up from 5 million. According to Lin Moyu's understanding, 50 million followers would exponentially increase the combat power of the Lich of the Buddha Kingdom, potentially reaching the fourth realm of Tao Sovereign. Even if it doesn't reach the fourth realm, it would be invincible within the third realm. The Path of Fate remained unchanged. This spell, in conjunction with the Eternal Buddha Kingdom, would reveal its true power and peculiarity as the Lich's combat strength increased. Finally, a new spell appeared. Lin Moyu speculated that it was likely inherited from the three-eyed Free Buddha's artifact, which explained the new spell. At that time, Li Guang was almost forcibly converted. Now that the Lich of the Buddha Kingdom had inherited this spell, it could also forcibly convert enemies. As for the effectiveness of the conversion, that was uncertain without specific testing. In summary, the Lich of the Buddha Kingdom had become stronger, and Lin Moyu felt he hadn't wasted the promise given by the third ancestor. After putting away the Lich of the Buddha Kingdom, Lin Moyu's consciousness returned. He checked the time and saw that most of the day had passed. With more than 2 days left, Lin Moyu decided to stay in the courtyard and cultivate. He replenished the power of the Red Sun Scarf and the Sun Stone. When the Sun Origin appeared, he cultivated. When the Sun Origin appeared, he also studied rune arrays. 2 days passed quickly, and on the third day, Lu Lian's voice sounded, "Mr. Lin, it's time to depart." Lin Moyu put on the Red Sun Scarf and connected it to the Sun Stone, continuously replenishing its energy. This way, the Red Sun Scarf could last a long time, and the Sun Stone could replenish its power from the Sun Origin, eliminating concerns about running out of energy. After making preparations, Lin Moyu said, "Let's go." Lu Lian used the power of the Origin Spirit Vein to teleport Lin Moyu away. A powerful source of energy surged towards Lin Moyu, and he knew he had re-entered the Origin Spirit Vein. Gray mist surrounded him, and he could vaguely see a few figures. At this moment, a rope appeared in Lin Moyu's hand, and Lu Lian's voice sounded in his ear, "Hold the rope and follow. Now I'll send the information over, you can read it as we walk." Lin Moyu quickly received the information transmitted by Lu Lian. Holding the rope, he followed while reading the information. The ruins of the God-Slaying Sect. Upon reading the beginning of the information, Lin Moyu realized that the sect he had seen earlier was called the God-Slaying Sect. In the known history of the Origin continent, there was no information about the God-Slaying Sect. Lin Moyu continued reading the detailed information, which explained the origins of the God-Slaying Sect and the known details about it. The God-Slaying Sect was a prehistoric sect. Seeing the words, prehistoric sect, Lin Moyu realized that the history of the Origin continent had periods of discontinuity. Something significant must have happened in the past, causing a break in the history of the Origin continent. Lin Moyu thought of the past when the Origin continent had 9 continents, not the current 4. The events of that time caused the loss of 5 continents, and the divine cauldron that suppressed the continents also disappeared. Connecting these 2 points, Lin Moyu speculated about a possible scenario. He continued reading the information. The ruins of the god-slaying sect were discovered 100,000 years ago due to an accidental event, revealing the burial ground of the sect. The god-slaying sect was connected to the 9th grade origin spirit vein of the Lufeng Merchant Guild, inseparable. As a result, the power of the god-slaying sect was nearly inexhaustible. Only by refining the 9th grade origin spirit vein could the ruins be fundamentally dismantled. But that was impossible. The entire human race had only one 9th grade origin spirit vein, relied upon by many ancient figures. Refining it was out of the question. Moreover, if it were refined, the ruins of the god-slaying sect might collapse without the support of the origin spirit vein, raising the question of whether the legacy could still be obtained. 100,000 years ago, the emergence of the ruins of the god-slaying sect shocked the ancient figures of various top forces. 90,000 years ago, the prodigy gathering began. On the surface, it was to select prodigies, but secretly, it was to gather fortune. The fortune was used to explore the ruins of the god-slaying sect. For 10,000 years, the ancient figures of various forces had attempted countless explorations, using all sorts of methods without success. Eventually, they found this method. The god-slaying sect's ruins were fraught with dangers, the most obvious being the death energy. Death energy could be resisted with one's own power, but even a Dao sovereign's power had limits and couldn't withstand the endless erosion of death energy. However, this problem was not difficult to solve. Pills and artifacts could address it. Besides death energy, the ruins contained divine light, which were the wills, obsessions, spells, and even the great Tao of the deceased disciples of the god-slaying sect. These dangers required one's own power to deal with and consumed a lot of fortune. The stronger the fortune, the higher the chance of obtaining the legacy. Although the ancient figures had strong fortune, once it was eroded, it was difficult to recover. Moreover, the god-slaying sect's ruins had restrictions. If a Tao sovereign too powerful entered, the danger would increase accordingly. After countless experiments and tests over 10,000 years, it was determined that first and second realm Tao sovereigns were the best candidates, leading to the prodigy gathering. As for Lin Moyu, he was included at the last minute because he was the son of Tai Yin, a decision made by the third ancestor. As the third ancestor of the Lufeng Merchant Guild, he had the privilege to add someone. After all, Lin Moyu did not share in the fortune of others and had no conflict of interest. Lin Moyu felt that the third ancestor and the ancient figures of other forces must have other agreements, but that wasn't his concern. In this exploration of the god-slaying sect's ruins, he was only cooperating with the third ancestor, not involving others. The journey was silent, everyone holding the same rope and moving forward. No one spoke, everyone was reading the information provided by Lu Lian. Chapter 2789, 2789. Chapter 2789, The Real Purpose of the Prodigy Gathering. Passing through the mist, the source power weakened, and strands of death energy blew like a gentle breeze. The voice of the third ancestor echoed in everyone's ears, "We've arrived." Lin Moyu opened his eyes and saw several familiar faces. The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus, the Holy Son of the Myriad Illusions, Dongfang Wuan, and Lu Fengyao were all present. In addition to them, there were three unfamiliar figures. These three were shrouded in an invisible great Tao, with source power rising around them, making it impossible to see their faces clearly. Their auras were deep and incredibly powerful. Lin Moyu knew that these three must be ancestors from the 9 top forces of the southern continent. He couldn't determine which 3 forces they were from. 3 of the 9 top forces had sent their ancestors, indicating how seriously they took this exploration. Perhaps they always took it seriously. As his gaze swept over, he finally saw the third ancestor. The third ancestor stood at the forefront, also shrouded in mist, making his appearance and figure unclear, exuding an aura of mystery. Lin Moyu couldn't help but chuckle inwardly. It seems the third ancestor is still giving me face, at least willing to let me see his true form. Wait a minute. He suddenly realized that the third ancestor he saw might indeed be his true form. Or maybe not. As thoughts swirled in his mind, Lin Moyu shook his head inwardly. These old guys love to make things mysterious. Is it really necessary? Perhaps at their level, they have to. The third ancestor turned around, and although shrouded in mist, his gaze was incredibly sharp, sweeping over the prodigies like a sword. Everyone felt a stinging sensation on their skin, somewhat uncomfortable. The third ancestor's voice echoed in their ears. Have you all read the information? When you enter, no one can help you. Be cautious. If you encounter danger, retreat immediately. Based on past experience, those who retreat won't be harmed, so don't force yourselves. As he spoke, he waved his hand, and 5 array discs flew out, landing in the hands of Lin Moyu and the others. The array discs were palm-sized and intricately crafted, with complex patterns engraved on them. Lin Moyu took one look and knew that these array discs were extraordinary, at least reaching the 7th grade. The materials used in the array discs were incredibly powerful, mixed with high-grade source crystals, providing them with immense power. Lin Moyu admired the array disc in his hand as if it were a piece of exquisite art. Clearly, the array master who crafted these discs had reached an astonishing level of skill. At least an 8th grade array master, Lin Moyu judged inwardly. The third ancestor's voice echoed again, these array discs can partially resist the spells within the ruins and reduce the loss of fortune. If you encounter danger, you can also detonate the array disc. It will ensure your safety for 5 minutes. Use that time to retreat immediately. Now, refine the array discs, and then you can proceed. Everyone immediately began refining the array discs, with source power surging, making the discs glow brightly. The advantage of the array discs was that even those who didn't understand arrays could use them. Array discs were also a type of treasure for array masters, difficult to craft and incredibly powerful. Strong array discs took time to refine. Typically, the higher one's realm, the faster the refining process. The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus, with the highest realm, should be the fastest to refine. Lin Moyu, with the lowest realm as a mid-level heavenly sovereign, should be the slowest. But reality didn't align with expectations. The first to complete the refining was Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu was familiar with arrays, having reached the 6th grade in his array mastery, far surpassing ordinary cultivators in understanding arrays. Moreover, he was proficient in both artifact arrays and rune arrays. Although the array disc reached the 7th grade, he refined it with ease. Refining the array disc required infusing one's soul power into every part of the disc, leaving a soul imprint on each array pattern. At least 80% needed to be covered to complete the refining. Lin Moyu's familiarity with arrays allowed his soul power to traverse every corner of the disc almost instantly, missing no detail. Meanwhile, the others, including the highest realm Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus, were still exploring the complex patterns within the array disc, refining it slowly. After Lin Moyu finished refining the disc, it turned into a stream of light and entered his body. He could summon it with a single thought. The 4 ancestor-level figures, including the 3rd ancestor, all looked over. Although their gazes were hidden in the mist, Lin Moyu could feel their surprise. The 3rd ancestor's voice echoed in his ear, "You also understand arrays?" Lin Moyu replied, "Just a little." The 3rd ancestor clearly didn't believe him, "You call this a little? Be honest, what level have you reached, in arrays or rune arrays?" Lin Moyu didn't hide, "I haven't been formally tested, but I estimate around the 5th or 6th grade in both artifact and rune arrays." Their conversation was overheard by the other ancestor-level figures. The 3rd ancestor hadn't intended to hide it. If he did, he wouldn't have asked. The divine light wood on Lin Moyu was useless to them. They could see through Lin Moyu's true age. A heavenly sovereign over 2,000 years old was already astonishing. If he had also reached such a level in arrays, he wasn't just a genius, he was a monster. Their gazes focused on Lin Moyu. If Lin Moyu weren't thick-skinned, he would have felt embarrassed. From their gazes, Lin Moyu couldn't discern any emotions. These ancestors had long hidden their emotions deeply, making their thoughts as unfathomable as the sea. The 3rd ancestor's voice became serious, "Once inside, if possible, take care of Fengyao for me." This time, the 3rd ancestor spoke privately, so only Lin Moyu could hear. Lin Moyu responded with a look, indicating that Lu Fengyao was his friend and he would take care of her regardless of the 3rd ancestor's request. Of course, this was contingent on his own safety. If he couldn't protect himself, he couldn't take care of anyone else. Finally, the Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus finished refining her array disc. Her beautiful eyes showed no joy, only a direct gaze at Lin Moyu. She had overheard the conversation between Lin Moyu and the 3rd ancestor. She couldn't believe that Lin Moyu was a 5th grade or higher array master, proficient in both artifact and rune arrays. This meant that besides arrays, Lin Moyu might also be proficient in runes. The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus recalled the first round of the Prodigy Gathering, where the last rune was comprehended from the sound of the Great Tao. Lin Moyu might have directly comprehended the rune. That must be it. Yes, it must be. While we were comprehending the sound of the great Tao, he directly comprehended the rune, which is why he surpassed us. The holy maiden of the immortal lotus believed her thoughts were correct. Her gaze was complex, her lips moved slightly, though she said nothing. Lin Moyu could read her lips, understanding that she called him a monster. Chapter 2790, 2790. Chapter 2790, Sisters got your back. After the holy maiden of the immortal lotus, both Dongfang Wuan and the holy son of the myriad illusions completed their refining. They also heard the conversation between Lin Moyu and the third ancestor, and their gazes towards Lin Moyu were as if they were looking at a monster. Lu Fengyao, being slightly lower in realm, refined a bit slower and still needed some time. One of the three ancestors suddenly spoke, "Young friend, may I ask where you are from?" His tone was very gentle, without a hint of arrogance. Before Lin Moyu could answer, the voice of the third ancestor sounded in his ear, "He's trying to recruit you, don't pay him any mind." Lin Moyu's mind was clear, "I have no notable background. May I ask which holy land or sect senior is from?" The mist around the speaking ancestor gradually dissipated, revealing his true form. The first impression Lin Moyu had of the grey-robed old man was that he seemed lifeless, as if he might die at any moment. This must be a secret technique to preserve his vitality. His aged appearance is just a facade, not his true form. Lin Moyu felt that this elder's realm wasn't as profound as the third ancestor's. Unlike the third ancestor, who had lived for countless years but still exuded vitality, the grey-robed elder had a different aura. The grey-robed elder dispelled his mist, showing his sincerity. He forced a smile, "I am Ji Kang of the Coldwater Holy Land." Lin Moyu was startled, it's actually him. In the information he had purchased, there were details about the Coldwater Holy Land. Because of Ji Hanyu, Lin Moyu had carefully reviewed the information about the Coldwater Holy Land. Among the records was an account of Ji Kang. In the history of the Coldwater Holy Land, Ji Kang held a significant position. 1,000,000 years ago, Ji Kang rose to prominence. At that time, the Coldwater Holy Land often clashed with the Tao Inquiry sect, engaging in numerous battles with mixed results. The elders of both sects rarely intervened, leaving the younger generation to fight. Ji Kang single-handedly suppressed the disciples of the Tao Inquiry sect of his generation. He became increasingly powerful, defeating not only the Tao Inquiry sect but also contemporaneous geniuses across the southern continent. 1,000,000 years ago, Ji Kang was the most dazzling figure in the southern continent. Later, Ji Kang broke through to the seventh realm of Tao Sovereign, ventured alone into the northern continent, and defeated many powerful demon clans there. He then traveled to the western continent, engaging in battles with the Buddhist, dragon, and elf clans. After returning, Ji Kang secluded himself and rarely appeared, with fewer and fewer mentions of him over time. Unexpectedly, Ji Kang himself had come today. 1,000,000 years ago, he had already broken through to the seventh realm of Tao Sovereign. After so many years, he was still stuck in the Tao Sovereign realm, highlighting the difficulty of breaking through. Even a genius like Ji Kang, who dominated an era, was trapped, unable to advance further. Lin Moyu saluted Ji Kang, "So it's Senior Ji Kang. It's an honor to meet you." Ji Kang said, "Young friend, your talent is enviable. I would like to invite you to join the Coldwater Holy Land. What do you think?" Lin Moyu thought for a moment, "Thank you for your kind offer, Senior, but I have no plans to join any other forces for now." Ji Kang's eyes were deep, making it hard to guess his thoughts. After a moment, Ji Kang sighed, "Everyone has their own aspirations. I won't force you." Given his status, inviting once was enough. He wouldn't invite a second time. The mist rose again, and the power of the great Tao enveloped him, hiding his form once more. Using his great Tao power to preserve his vitality, although not as effective as self-sealing, still significantly slowed the loss of vitality. The third ancestor laughed heartily, "Old Ji, don't waste your efforts. If this kid wanted to join a force, it wouldn't be your turn." Ji Kang chuckled, "Indeed, just the 9th grade origin spirit vein alone is something I can't offer." The third ancestor's meaning was clear. If Lin Moyu wanted to join a force, the Lufeng Merchant Guild would be the best choice. Just the 9th grade origin spirit vein alone suppressed other forces. Lin Moyu hadn't even accepted the Lufeng Merchant Guild's invitation, so he was even less likely to join another force. The third ancestor laughed, "You know well enough. This guy is stubborn and doesn't need to join any force, right? His words had a deeper meaning. Ji Yukang understood, and a white jade token flew towards Lin Moyu through the mist. The token was cold to the touch, colder than ice, enough to freeze an ordinary Dao sovereign. The front of the token was engraved with the character, Kang, and the back depicted a vast glacier. This is my token. If you ever visit the Coldwater Holy Land, present this token, and the elders will know. Ji Yukang understood the third ancestor's words. If he couldn't recruit Lin Moyu, he could at least befriend him. Forcing someone to join wouldn't be as beneficial as becoming friends with a genius like Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu accepted the token. Thank you for your kindness, senior. I've heard the Coldwater Holy Land has beautiful scenery, and I've always wanted to visit. Ji Yukang replied, the scenery is indeed quite nice. The other two ancestors remained silent, appearing aloof. Lin Moyu didn't know their origins and didn't bother to find out. If they didn't speak, he wouldn't engage with them. Finally, Lu Fengyao finished refining her array disc. The third ancestor waved his hand, dispersing the mist to reveal a path to the god-slaying sect's ruins. The path was filled with death energy and countless broken stones. At the end of the path stood an ancient, pitch-black stone mountain, shrouded in death energy and divine light, creating a bizarre and eerie scene. Ancient and desolate auras emanated from the mountain. The holy maiden of the immortal lotus and the other four took deep breaths, their expressions turning serious. It was their first time seeing the ruins of the god-slaying sect, and they felt the indescribable ancient aura, making their expressions complex. As prodigies, their spiritual senses were extremely sharp, and they sensed danger within. Dongfang Wuan whispered, a prehistoric sect, though only ruins remain, its power is still palpable. The Holy Son of the Myriad Illusions added, it's not just powerful, it's also very dangerous. I can sense the great Tao's power within the divine light. The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus remained silent, but her furrowed brows showed her wariness. Lin Moyu approached Lu Fengyao and whispered, congratulations, Sister Fengyao, on making the top 10. Lu Fengyao smiled, thank you. Where did you go afterward? Lin Moyu glanced at the third ancestor, I was summoned. Lu Fengyao understood and handed him a bead. This is a protective divine bead. Keep it, it might come in handy. The bead was warm to the touch, and Lin Moyu could feel the powerful energy within. He knew the bead was extraordinary, at least a third-realm Dao sovereign artifact, extremely valuable. He instinctively wanted to refuse, but seeing Lu Fengyao's slightly warning look, he accepted it. Thank you, Sister Fengyao. Lu Fengyao smiled, that's more like it. Be careful inside. Lin Moyu replied, I will. You too, Sister Fengyao. Don't push yourself if there's danger. Lu Fengyao snorted, I should be the one saying that to you. How can you steal my lines? Lin Moyu laughed, it doesn't matter who says it. Lu Fengyao patted his shoulder, stick close to me inside. Don't get separated. She acted like a big sister, as if saying, I've got your back. Lin Moyu nodded in agreement. The information mentioned that the god-slaying sect's ruins were filled with traps, making it easy to get separated and face dangers alone. Staying together wouldn't be easy. The third ancestor's hope for Lin Moyu to take care of Lu Fengyao was just that, a hope. Chapter 2791, 2791. Chapter 2791, a chapter passes just like that. The third ancestor controlled the origin spirit vein, and the path to the god-slaying sect was becoming clear. The death energy on the road gradually faded under the interference of the origin spirit vein's power. In a moment, the path would be passable. Lin Moyu glanced at the three holy maidens and noticed they were both nervous and expectant. The nervousness stemmed from the identity of the god-slaying sect, a prehistoric sect of immense power. Despite the countless years that had passed, the power within its ruins remained potent due to the presence of the ninth-grade origin spirit vein. The ruins were filled with dangers, and even prodigies could be injured or even fall. The expectation came from the fact that if they succeeded, they could obtain the legacy of the prehistoric sect. The legacy coveted by all the ancestors was unimaginable in its strength. According to the rules, those who obtained the legacy could use it themselves, only needing to submit a copy. If they found any treasures inside, they could keep them. If they handed them over, they would receive generous rewards. Any gains would lead to immense wealth. Among the three, the one with the strongest sense of expectation was the Holy Son of the Myriad Illusions. He was already excited. He had failed to earn the title of the strongest prodigy and was not strong enough to compete with the holy son of the illusory god for the qualification to inherit the Holy Land. Although not without opportunities, he was always a bit short. If he could gain something here, he could turn the tables and even surpass his rivals. He knew that the previous holy son of the illusory god had gained nothing here, so he still had a chance. Compared to the three, Lu Fengyao was much calmer. For her, this was just an experience to broaden her horizons, and the third ancestor had no specific expectations for her. Lin Moyu asked, "What will happen inside the god-slaying sect?" Lu Fengyao replied, "We won't be able to see it. Once we enter, the death energy inside the mountain will erupt, intertwining with the divine light, isolating the inside from the outside, like two separate worlds. All life-saving teleportation items will become ineffective. If you encounter danger, the best method is to return the way you came, so remember the path you took." Returning the way they came was the safest method, as written in the records. The final power of the array disk was also reserved for their retreat. Historically, most prodigies returned safely, with only a few dying inside. The exact reasons for their deaths were unclear, with ancestors speculating that they might have been too reckless and got trapped inside. Such cases were rare, accounting for only about 10% of those who entered. Lin Moyu thought to himself, if the inside is isolated, I can use my full power without worrying too much. This is advantageous for me. Without outsiders watching, Lin Moyu could fully explore. He began to feel excited, a feeling he hadn't experienced in a long time. It was like exploring unknown dungeons in a small world or secret realms in a big world. Although dangerous, it was worth looking forward to. Lu Fengyao gave Lin Moyu a sideways glance. "Why do you seem excited?" Lin Moyu smiled, "I am a bit. Exploring the unknown is interesting. Don't you think so, Sister Fengyao?" Lu Fengyao bluntly replied, "Not at all. It's too dangerous." Lin Moyu said, "Fortune favors the bold. Danger often means opportunity." Lu Fengyao disagreed, "Opportunities are only valuable if you live to enjoy them." Lin Moyu grinned, looking excitedly at the path ahead. The death energy on the path had thinned to a thin layer. The third ancestor said, "It's ready. Go in and be careful. If there's danger, retreat immediately." His words were directed at everyone but also specifically at Lu Fengyao. The path was wide enough for the five of them to walk side by side. Crack! A crisp sound was heard as their bodies suddenly sank, their steps heavy. An invisible force pressed down on them, making their steps heavier. The stones on the path turned to powder under their feet. Dongfang Wuan said, "These stones have become extremely fragile after countless years of erosion by the death energy. They turn to powder at the slightest touch." The Holy Son of the Myriad Illusions added, "There's a restriction here. Our ability to fly is suppressed. We can only walk step by step." Dongfang Wuan said, "Let's go quickly." The death energy on the path was temporarily suppressed by the origin spirit vein but wouldn't last long. They didn't have much time to waste. With that, Dongfang Wuan walked ahead, followed closely by the Holy Son of the Myriad Illusions. In no time, the two had walked far ahead. Mist rose in the distance, and their figures became increasingly blurry. The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus looked thoughtful but didn't move. Lin Moyu also didn't move, observing the footprints left by Dongfang Wuan and the Holy Son of the Myriad Illusions, as well as the powder from the crushed stones. Lu Fengyao, who had intended to walk, stopped when she saw Lin Moyu not moving. Having experienced the Realm Sea Order, Lu Fengyao felt that Lin Moyu must have a reason for not moving. She asked, "Why aren't you walking?" Lin Moyu replied, "This path can't be walked carelessly." "Did you discover something?" Lu Fengyao asked. Lin Moyu nodded, "This path has been walked by countless people. The stones turn to powder at the slightest touch. By now, there shouldn't be any stones left on the path." Lu Fengyao was startled, "You're right. With so many people walking, the path should be covered in powder, not stones." The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus interjected, "Could the path have the ability to automatically restore itself?" Lin Moyu said, "That's possible, but I have a gut feeling that this path shouldn't be walked like this." Lu Fengyao urged, "We don't have much time. If you have a discovery, just say it." Lin Moyu said, "Our ability to fly is suppressed here. Why? To make us walk step by step." "But why make us walk step by step? Is it a trap?" "I don't think so. Traps wouldn't be set at the beginning. This is the burial ground of the god-slaying sect. If this path is the entrance to the sect, it serves two purposes. One is to welcome guests, and the other is a test. Since welcoming guests is no longer relevant, it must be a test. With the restriction on flying, the test is clear: how to walk this path without breaking the stones. Lin Moyu shared his judgment and added, "Of course, this is just my guess. You don't have to follow it." Lu Fengyao gave him a sideways glance. "You've said it, so how can we not believe you?" The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus also said, "I believe in Lin's words." Lin Moyu's comprehension had been proven in the prodigy gathering, equating to intelligence. With Lu Fengyao's reaction, the Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus chose to trust Lin Moyu. Lu Fengyao, not wanting to think too much, asked, "So how do we proceed?" Lin Moyu smiled, "Just like this." Chapter 2792, 2792. Chapter 2792, It's not walking, it's floating together. As Lin Moyu's words fell, the power of the origin erupted, forcibly countering the force pressing down on him. The power surged like a giant wave, pushing upwards in waves. Gradually, Lin Moyu began to float. Although he was only a little off the ground, at least he was no longer touching the stones. Lin Moyu controlled his height, floating just half an inch above the stones, slowly moving forward. Seeing this, the Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus couldn't help but say, "Lin Daoyu is indeed clever." Lin Moyu's approach seemed foolish, but it was the best solution he could think of in a short time. The key point was that the Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus had never considered that the restrictions pressing on her could be countered. She had always thought that the restrictions were rules that had to be followed. This reverse thinking had never occurred to her. Lin Moyu's approach opened her mind, showing her that she didn't need to follow the rules rigidly. As she pondered, a powerful aura rose from Lu Fengyao. Lu Fengyao also began to float, moving forward like Lin Moyu. The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus no longer hesitated, activating her power to counter the restrictions pressing on her. She floated up, even higher than Lin Moyu. She quickly flew forward, soon catching up with Lu Fengyao. With her higher realm and stronger power, catching up to Lin Moyu was a matter of moments. A force descended, and the restriction suddenly strengthened, causing her height to drop slightly. Reacting a moment too late, her feet touched the ground, leaving footprints before she floated up again. The stones she touched turned to powder. The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus seemed startled, floating even higher this time. In an instant, an even stronger restriction pressed down, forcing her back to the ground. 2 more footprints appeared, and the stones turned to powder again. The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus calmed herself, carefully countering the restriction to float again. This time, she didn't dare to fly too fast, slowly floating forward. As she moved, the restriction on her body fluctuated, sometimes strong, sometimes weak, causing her to bob up and down in the air. Fortunately, her slow speed allowed her to control herself without touching the stones again. The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus finally realized that the higher she floated and the faster she moved, the more power she consumed and the more the restriction fluctuated. She needed more power to counter it, reducing her precision. If she floated lower and moved slower, the impact would be less. She finally understood why Lin Moyu floated so close to the stones. It wasn't that he couldn't float higher, but that he shouldn't. It wasn't that he couldn't move faster, but that he shouldn't. He needed to give himself enough time to react. He figured it out but didn't say anything. The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus felt slightly annoyed, thinking Lin Moyu had deliberately kept it to himself. Looking at Lu Fengyao, she saw that Lu Fengyao was also floating close to the stones, moving forward like Lin Moyu. Both of them were constantly adjusting their power levels, clearly countering the restriction. Did you tell Fengyao, or did she figure it out herself? Lu Fengyao's actions indicated she knew what to do. It was unclear whether Lin Moyu had told her or if she had figured it out on her own. There was no time to dwell on this. The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus imitated Lin Moyu, controlling her power to float close to the stones and move forward. As the strongest prodigy of this generation, her talent, comprehension, and power control were top-notch. What Lin Moyu did wasn't difficult for her. In no time, she had mastered it. This way, it's much easier to control. How did you figure it out? The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus looked at Lin Moyu's back, finding this mid-level heavenly sovereign very interesting. Lin Moyu hadn't fully explained. His judgment of the path wasn't entirely a guess. Everyone thought the stones had become fragile due to countless years of erosion by death energy. Lin Moyu, highly sensitive to death energy, noticed that the stones contained no death energy, not even on their surface. In other words, the stone's fragility wasn't due to death energy. This was a crucial basis for Lin Moyu's judgment that the path was a test. The death energy on the path was just a disguise. Dongfang Wuan and the Holy Son of the Myriad Illusions didn't realize this and fell into the trap. Whether walking or floating would make a difference, Lin Moyu wasn't sure. He floated steadily towards the end of the path. The mist ahead obscured Dongfang Wuan and the Holy Son of the Myriad Illusions, leaving only their footprints. Gradually, their footprints diverged. Initially parallel, their footprints began to angle differently halfway down the path, as if they had taken different routes. But looking around, there were no other paths, and they had mysteriously disappeared. Looking back, Lin Moyu saw Lu Fengyao and the Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus still in sight, their paths unchanged. Further back, the figures of the third ancestor and others were completely obscured by the mist. Even their auras were undetectable. Only the faint presence of the 9th grade origin spirit vein remained, but even that was weak. Lin Moyu knew he had entered the territory of the god-slaying sect, isolated from the outside world. Lu Fengyao caught up. Why did you stop? Lin Moyu pointed to the footprints on the ground. Look at the footprints. Lu Fengyao frowned. They separated here. She looked around, but there's no path here. The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus floated over, hearing Lu Fengyao's words and seeing the footprints. Her expression turned strange. No path, where could they have gone? Lin Moyu shook his head. I don't know. The only thing certain is that they have separated. Lu Fengyao said seriously, let's stick together and not separate. The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus immediately nodded, together. Lin Moyu chuckled, not walking, floating together. With that, he floated forward again, looking completely unconcerned, in stark contrast to the serious expressions of the Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus and Lu Fengyao. The three floated forward side by side, maintaining a height just an inch above the stones. As they floated 2/3 of the way, mist suddenly rose ahead. The mist spread rapidly, enveloping the three. Lu Fengyao lost sight of Lin Moyu, even losing her sense of him, feeling as if she were alone in the world. Her heart tightened, and she immediately called out for Lin Moyu. But she found her voice couldn't travel through the mist, swallowed entirely. Her anxiety grew, realizing why Dongfang Wuan and the Holy Son of the Myriad Illusions had separated. In the mist, it was impossible to discern direction. At that moment, a rope suddenly flew through the mist. Lu Fengyao, quick-eyed and quick-handed, grabbed it. The rope carried Lin Moyu's aura, giving Lu Fengyao a sense of relief. Chapter 2793, 2793. Chapter 2793, so many years, could it all be wrong? Holding onto the rope, Lu Fengyao passed through the mist and saw Lin Moyu again. Lu Fengyao showed a hint of surprise. How did you know where I was? Lin Moyu answered honestly, I didn't. Lu Fengyao raised the rope in her hand. Then how did you manage to throw the rope over? Because. Lin Moyu raised his hand, revealing that he also held a rope. The only difference was that his rope split into hundreds of strands half a meter away, extending in all directions like a large net in the invisible mist. Lu Fengyao then realized that Lin Moyu indeed didn't know her exact location. However, he found her using this method, which was simple yet incredibly effective. The mist rolled, and a flash of blue and red appeared. The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus also grabbed onto a rope and floated over from the mist. Seeing the rope in Lin Moyu's hand, she immediately understood what was going on. Such a simple method, and I didn't think of it. Lin Moyu's method was indeed simple but very practical. While the Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus was pondering, she said, Thank you, Lin Daoyu. Lin Moyu smiled, I didn't do much. These mists don't seem dangerous, they just want to separate us, but it's not a must. All the restrictions here seem to have ways to break them, it's just a matter of finding the right method. Let's keep floating. With that, Lin Moyu floated forward again, and Lu Fengyao and the Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus held onto the rope and floated along with him. Lu Fengyao and the Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus knew each other. Although they weren't close friends, their relationship was decent. The two of them holding onto the rope and floating behind Lin Moyu made for a harmonious scene. The three floated in the mist, which grew thicker until they couldn't even see their own hands, only feeling the rope they still held. The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus suddenly asked, Are we going in the right direction? Her voice was swallowed by the mist, unable to travel far. The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus had a thought and used her soul voice to ask again, are we going in the right direction? Lin Moyu's voice came from the mist, it doesn't matter. The 3 words, a brief answer, actually conveyed the correct answer. The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus was momentarily stunned, then realized she had asked a pointless question. Indeed, it didn't matter. The mist was so thick that direction was irrelevant. In other words, it didn't matter which direction they went, none were wrong. The mist didn't necessarily want them to find the right direction but hoped they would head in a fixed direction. Different directions might lead to different situations, but none were wrong. The remaining path wasn't too long. After floating for a while, the mist began to thin, and their vision gradually returned. A mountain shrouded in divine light appeared in their sight. The burial ground of the god-slaying sect, a prehistoric ruin, was different from what they had seen outside. The divine light shrouded the mountain, and above the divine light was an endless death energy, pressing down like dark clouds, seemingly ready to fall at any moment. From the outside, the divine light and death energy intertwined. Only now, standing in front of the mountain, did they realize that the divine light and death energy were clearly distinct. Like yellow and blue seawater colliding, they formed a clear and unique boundary. The bizarre scene they saw outside was this boundary. Within the divine light, countless tombs stood, covering the mountains and valleys, impossible to count. The mountain was vast, with more mountains behind it, one after another, with countless tombs, seemingly endless. Behind the mountains, a tall peak loomed, with a long spear standing at its summit, as if ready to pierce the sky. The mountains were many, unlike the single mountain seen from outside. Lin Moyu's gaze was drawn to the mountains, and he unknowingly floated off the path. His body suddenly sank, and his feet landed heavily on the ground. Lin Moyu realized that from this moment on, he was truly restricted and could no longer fly. Lu Fengyao and the Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus also floated off the path. The sudden pressure caught them off guard, almost causing them to lose their balance. But these were minor issues. Their gazes were also drawn to the mountains, unable to look away. Lu Fengyao sighed, it's completely different from what we saw outside. The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus, though amazed, was also puzzled, it's different from the information. Why is that? If the true burial ground of the god-slaying sect looked like this, why hadn't anyone known for so many years? The information they had seen was gathered over 90,000 years by waves of prodigies. Besides the prodigies, the ancestors of various forces had also entered. Everyone saw a single mountain, not a range of mountains. The mountains before them had formed a vast mountain range. The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus didn't know which was real, but she instinctively felt that what she saw now was the true face of the god-slaying sect. A single mountain wouldn't be enough to support such a sect. Lu Fengyao had the same question, yes, could all the information gathered over so many years be wrong? Lin Moyu thought for a moment, it might not be wrong because what they saw was real. Lu Fengyao asked, what do you mean? Lin Moyu explained, it could be the difference between walking and floating. Different methods yield different results. Maybe I'm not necessarily right, but after so many years without results, it's worth trying a different approach. The two agreed with Lin Moyu. Since there had been no results for 90,000 years, it was worth trying a new method. If no new method was found, there was nothing to be done. But since they had found one, they naturally had to try it. Lu Fengyao asked, what do we do next? Lin Moyu continued to observe the mountains ahead, no rush, let's take a look first. There was no time limit here, so every step had to be taken cautiously. Lin Moyu had a thought, and 10 skeleton generals appeared before him, quickly running ahead. The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus asked, you're using summoning to scout? Lin Moyu replied, the future is unknown, better to take precautions than risk oneself. With that, Lin Moyu closed his eyes, connecting his vision to the skeleton generals, observing the situation in the mountains through their eyes. Lu Fengyao silently moved half a step forward, standing in front of Lin Moyu to protect him. Crack, crack, the skeleton generals couldn't fly either and had to run on the ground. Their bones rubbed together quickly, making a creepy sound. The 10 skeleton generals ran into the mountains and quickly spread out. If the Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus weren't present, Lin Moyu would have summoned not 10 but thousands. The mountains were shrouded in divine light, which fell on the skeleton generals. The skeleton generals immediately felt immense pressure, their power being consumed by the divine light. Soon, a faint layer of divine light covered the skeleton generals, and the death energy in the air was attracted to the divine light, slowly descending. The divine light and death energy intertwined, forming a layer of armor on the skeleton generals. Chapter 2794, 2794. Chapter 2794, Exploring the Path, Soul Worms. Lin Moyu clearly felt all the information transmitted back by the skeleton generals. The divine light brought heavy pressure, and the death energy corroded the flesh and soul. However, the skeleton generals were different from ordinary people. As undead creatures, they were filled with death energy, which wouldn't harm them. The only pressure they had to endure was from the divine light. But this pressure wasn't too strong and was still bearable. If it were someone else, they would have to constantly use their own power to resist the death energy, and over time, no one could withstand it. The skeleton generals quickly reached the top of the first mountain, then crossed the peak and disappeared from sight, leaving a trail of footprints in the forest. As they descended the mountain, the divine light on them suddenly intensified. The speed of the skeleton generals slowed down dramatically, and Lin Moyu frowned. The increase in pressure seemed abnormal. For now, he could only move forward. The skeleton generals ran down the barren mountains, continuing forward. The mountains on both sides formed a canyon, composed of countless stones, creating a simple path. These stones were very sturdy, and the skeleton generals left no footprints on them. The skeleton generals leapt and ran between the stones, with the divine light growing stronger and the pressure increasing. Gradually, the skeleton generals found it difficult to move. Finally reaching the end of the canyon, a mist formed by the intertwining of divine light and death energy appeared in their sight. The skeleton generals simultaneously stopped, and through their undead eyes, Lin Moyu saw soul flames flickering within the mist. These soul flames were very weak, almost invisible if not looked at carefully. However, upon seeing them, Lin Moyu felt a sense of danger. Lin Moyu's heart stirred, and he divided the 10 skeleton generals into 3 groups. 3 skeleton generals each went to the left and right, climbing the cliffs towards the mountain tops. They moved quickly, using both hands and feet. The remaining 4 skeleton generals charged into the mist. As soon as they entered the mist, the vision through the undead eyes became blurry, losing clarity. The mist was so thick that they couldn't see themselves, and the skeleton generals could only run blindly forward. The skeleton generals climbing the cliffs looked towards the mist. However, the entire route beyond the canyon was shrouded in mist, making it impossible to see through. As they climbed halfway up the mountain, the divine light in the forest suddenly intensified. The divine light struck the skeleton generals like fists, knocking them off the cliffs. The death energy howled, turning into a gale that swept up the skeleton generals and threw them into the mist. The entire process happened in an instant. The skeleton generals hit by the divine light were immobilized, unable to move, and could only watch as the death energy threw them into the mist. Lin Moyu frowned and muttered to himself, "This path is impassable." The holy maiden of the immortal lotus heard him and asked curiously, "What do you mean, impassable?" Lin Moyu replied, "Just what I said. I'll explain later." He continued to control the skeleton generals, exploring the mist. The skeleton generals thrown into the mist regained their mobility. Apart from the increasing weight pressing on them, there were no other changes. What happened earlier seemed to indicate that only one path was viable. After traveling through the mist for half a minute, the skeleton generals finally emerged. Regardless of their speed or order, they all exited the mist simultaneously. Surrounded by mountains and forests, the skeleton generals found themselves deep within the mountains, with divine light encircling the stone mountains. Looking back, they saw no mist, only stone paths between the mountains. Each skeleton general was now alone, completely separated, and it was unclear how far apart they were. Due to the interference of divine light and death energy, Lin Moyu couldn't accurately sense the positions of the skeleton generals. His original plan to map the area using the skeleton generals was entirely thwarted. The undead vision structure differed from normal vision, missing some details. However, undead vision was highly sensitive to souls. As the skeleton generals surveyed their surroundings, they noticed that their bodies were covered in soul flames. These soul flames had come from the mist, attaching themselves unnoticed as they entered. The soul flames were actually tiny worms, moving between the divine light and death energy. They were so small, smaller than the tiniest insects, and had no physical form, only souls. Even with all his power, Lin Moyu's weakest soul strand was far stronger than these worms. Without the undead eyes, he wouldn't have detected them. What are these soul worms trying to do? I sense danger from them, but where is the danger coming from? Lin Moyu pondered while commanding the skeleton generals to continue forward. At this point, direction no longer mattered, as their exact location was unknown. They could walk in any direction. However, after giving the command, only 6 skeleton generals moved, the other 4 remained motionless. Lin Moyu was slightly surprised. This was the first time he had encountered such a situation. He had experienced losing contact with skeleton generals before. When they were out of range, they lost control and didn't respond, which he understood. But now, the skeleton generals hadn't lost contact, yet they were unresponsive. As he pondered, another skeleton general suddenly stopped, standing still and unresponsive. When Lin Moyu connected his vision to the skeleton general, he found the vision blurry, and the undead eyes seemed unusable. What's going on? Lin Moyu immediately switched to another controllable skeleton general and used the undead eyes to carefully examine himself. He discovered that the soul worms were moving as if they were eating something. Their movements were so small that they were barely noticeable unless observed very closely. Their mouths trembled continuously, as if chewing on something. Gradually, Lin Moyu's vision blurred again, and the undead vision was affected. The remaining skeleton generals also stopped one by one. Lin Moyu had a rough idea. These soul worms could disrupt his connection with the skeleton generals, preventing him from controlling them properly. What a strange world. Let's try something else. With a thought, Lin Moyu commanded the last controllable skeleton general to draw its sword. The target wasn't an enemy but itself. The sword energy swept over its body, but the soul worms were unharmed. The sword energy had no effect. Lin Moyu thought for a moment and then unleashed a faint trace of life force. The skeleton general's spells also carried the power of the undying Tao. Usually, they only used death energy, rarely tapping into life energy. In a place filled with death energy, the soul worms weren't afraid of death energy. Since that was the case, he decided to use life energy. Sizzle. It was as if he saw green smoke rising. As soon as the soul worms touched the life energy, they were quickly dissolved. Chapter 2795, 2795. Chapter 2795, Please help the Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus collect her corpse. Lin Moyu slowly opened his eyes and saw Lu Fengyao and the Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus looking at him expectantly. The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus asked, Lin Daoyu, how did it go? The entire process didn't take long, only about 20 minutes, but to them, it felt like 100 years. Lin Moyu said, I only saw a very small part. My abilities are limited, and that's all I could see. The rest, you may have to experience yourselves. Lu Fengyao asked, you mean we will be separated, right? Lin Moyu nodded, yes, we will be separated. Let me tell you what I know so far. First, starting from the mountain ahead, the divine light will become a heavy pressure on us, and the death energy will follow, wearing down our strength together with the divine light. The first mountain is not difficult, it's just the beginning and easy to pass. Even a supreme could walk through it. After crossing the first mountain, we will enter a canyon. Don't try the cliffs on either side, I've tried, and it's a dead end. Walking through the canyon, you'll encounter a mist. The first danger comes from here. At this point, the Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus and Lu Fengyao perked up their ears. Lin Moyu wasn't joking if he said there was danger, there was real danger. Lin Moyu continued, in the mist, there are soul worms. They are very, very small, and you probably won't notice them. If I'm not mistaken, these soul worms consume fortune and something else I can't describe. But their consumption speed is slow. With your fortune, you can last for a while. I don't know if the array discs can block the soul worms, I haven't tested it. Once we enter the mist, we will be separated. This time, ropes won't work. Even with ropes, we will still be separated. The mist seems to have teleportation abilities. Just walk for a while, and you can leave the mist. Where you'll end up, I don't know. Lin Moyu explained clearly, sharing his experiences and guesses without reservation. He speculated that the soul worms might absorb fortune based on the information he had and the reactions of the skeleton generals. The connection between him and the skeleton generals was very close and usually wouldn't break. The soul worms could disrupt this connection, indicating they had special abilities to consume intangible forces, possibly including fortune. The information didn't mention soul worms, suggesting no one had discovered them before. Fortune doesn't decrease without reason, leading Lin Moyu to this hypothesis, though he was only half confident in its accuracy. His words made the two women ponder, and Lin Moyu continued, after passing through the mist, we will enter the mountains. I suspect that's the true heart of the god-slaying sect. I can't guarantee there will be a way out like before. Be mentally prepared if there's no way out, we might lose our lives inside. Lin Moyu wasn't trying to scare them, it was a real possibility. The path they were taking was entirely different from before. They might truly enter the god-slaying sect, rendering previous experiences useless. Both women were conflicted. Given their status and position, they didn't need to take such risks. Lu Fengyao's beautiful eyes sparkled. How are your skeleton generals now? Lin Moyu replied, for now, they are just out of control, but they are still alive. Skeletons are different, they are undead and not afraid of death energy corrosion. The skeleton generals stood motionless, their undead vision completely blurred, and Lin Moyu had lost control over them. However, he could still sense that they were safe and hadn't perished. Skeletons weren't afraid of death energy, unlike cultivators who would be continuously corroded by death energy, losing their source power, and eventually having their bodies and souls corroded if their source power was depleted. As for the divine light, Lin Moyu hadn't yet seen what damage it could cause. Lu Fengyao and the Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus exchanged glances, seemingly asking each other if they should proceed. The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus hesitated and looked at Lin Moyu. Lin Daoyu, are you planning to go in? Lin Moyu replied, I plan to go in. Although there will be dangers, there will also be opportunities. I'm not like you, backed by powerful forces. Some dangers I have to face. Lu Fengyao playfully slapped Lin Moyu, what nonsense. Some things you just don't want. If you were willing to join any force, they'd treat you like royalty. She knew Lin Moyu's background. As a son of Tai Yin, any force would eagerly recruit him. With his talent and comprehension, they would treat him like a king. Lin Moyu chuckled, let's not waste time. Are you going in or not? Lu Fengyao replied, of course, we have to go. Such a good opportunity, how can we miss it? The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus also said, since we are already here, and Lin Daoyu has led us on the right path, we naturally have to go in. Otherwise, we would regret it for life. If I'm unlucky and die inside, Lin Daoyu, please help collect my body and tell the ancestor that I did my best. Her words were somewhat pessimistic but showed her courage in facing life and death. Lin Moyu guessed her courage might be related to the ancestor she mentioned. It seems the ancestor of the ancient Lotus Holy Land is nearing the end of his life. Lin Moyu thought to himself, realizing the Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus had inadvertently revealed a secret of her holy land. Both women had made their decision to go in. Lin Moyu snapped his fingers, and two skeleton generals appeared beside him. Since you're both going in, take these with you. You can keep them in your rule world and release them inside. Maybe I can sense your positions. Lu Fengyao smiled brightly, I knew you'd have a way. Lin Moyu said, this method isn't foolproof, but it's worth a try. Lu Fengyao happily put away the skeleton general, no worries, I trust you. The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus also put away a skeleton general, thank you, Lin Daoyu. I hope we meet inside. Let's go. Lin Moyu stepped towards the stone mountain, and the two women immediately followed. Despite being the lowest in realm, Lin Moyu had become the backbone of the group, with the two women unconsciously following his lead. As they stepped into the stone mountain, the divine light surged, silently enveloping them. The pressure on their bodies suddenly increased, as if a giant hand was pressing down on them. Instinctively, they used their power to counter the pressure. The divine light flickered, attracting a large amount of death energy from the air. The three of them, as if wearing heavy armor, took step after step towards the heights of the stone mountain. Chapter 2796, 2796. Chapter 2796, The True Face of the God-Slaying Sect. The three of them used their own powers to resist the divine light and death energy. The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus and Lu Fengyao, both being Dao sovereigns, found it relatively easy. Their powers were immense, and their foundations deep. Even if they consumed a lot, they could quickly replenish with pills. Such consumption speed didn't affect them much. After walking for a while and reaching halfway up the mountain, Lu Fengyao asked, are you all right? Lin Moyu, who was walking at the forefront, turned his head and smiled, this bit of death energy can't do anything to me. In fact, Lin Moyu didn't care about the death energy at all. He dealt with the power of death all day long, and a little death energy was nothing to him. Even if he didn't use any power, the death energy couldn't harm him. Even without the undying Tao, purely comparing consumption, Lin Moyu was stronger than them. Whether it was the world tree providing endless power or his astonishing recovery ability, he could compete with Tao sovereigns. The three of them walked all the way to the top of the mountain and saw the situation ahead. The stone mountain stretched endlessly, extending into the distance, looking infinite. Divine light surrounded them, and the death energy turned into dark clouds, pressing down from above, creating an indescribable sense of oppression. Lin Moyu pointed to the canyon below the mountain, where the canyon ended in thick mist. We will enter the mist, and in the mist, we might get separated and then be sent into the mountains. The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus and Lu Fengyao looked in the direction Lin Moyu pointed and saw the mist. The mist gave them a sense of danger, but both had firm Tao hearts and wouldn't easily change their decisions. They crossed the mountain peak and entered the canyon, getting closer and closer to the mist. The three of them stopped about 100 meters from the mist. Seeing it with their own eyes was very different from seeing it through the skeleton general's vision. The mist churned continuously, with divine light and death energy intertwined, creating a dazzling and mysterious scene, both beautiful and strange. The scene was hard to describe in words. Lin Moyu activated the Eye of the Undead and saw the soul worms in the mist. The number of soul worms was overwhelming, countless and densely packed. These soul worms seemed to be dormant, rolling naturally with the mist. Lin Moyu guessed that they would only wake up when someone entered. Lu Fengyao and the Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus couldn't see the soul worms. Not only could they not see them, but they couldn't even sense them. The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus said, "My spiritual sense should be strong, but I can't sense the soul worms at all." She didn't doubt Lin Moyu's words but felt that these enemies were difficult to deal with. The most troublesome enemies are not the strong ones but the invisible and untouchable ones. Enemies like these soul worms, which you know exist but can't do anything about, are indeed the most troublesome. Lu Fengyao whispered, "I can't see them either, but I can try something." She took out an oval mirror, engraved with the 8 trigrams in the center, with the sun and Tai Yin origins on either side. The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus's eyes brightened, the Yin-Yang 8 trigrams mirror of the Merchant Guild. Lin Moyu immediately recalled information about the Yin-Yang 8 trigrams mirror. It was a very powerful magical treasure with a legendary reputation. Once, a demon assassin from the Shadow Demon Cat lineage came to the southern continent. This assassin had incredible hiding abilities. With his special talent, his hiding ability reached its peak. In just 1 year, he assassinated many humans in the southern continent. This alarmed the ancestors of several top forces in the southern continent. They all came out of seclusion but still couldn't find his whereabouts. He was like a sharp knife, stabbing into the southern continent. Various methods were used, but they still couldn't find him. Finally, these ancestors turned to the Lufeng Merchant Guild. They borrowed a magical treasure from the Lufeng Merchant Guild, the Yin-Yang 8 trigrams mirror. Under the illumination of the Yin-Yang 8 trigrams mirror, the hidden demon was exposed and subsequently killed. Afterward, the magical treasure was returned to the Lufeng Merchant Guild, but its power remained legendary in the southern continent. Unexpectedly, Lu Fengyao had brought the Yin-Yang 8 trigrams mirror this time. Lu Fengyao activated the Yin-Yang 8 trigrams mirror and softly chanted, "Light of the Tai Yin." The Sun 8 trigrams mirror floated in the air, transforming into a Tai Yin origin, emitting a glow that fell on the mist. However, this Tai Yin origin was small, and the power it released was far less than the true Tai Yin origin. The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus said, "Back then, this mirror was activated by an ancestor of the 8th realm of Tao Sovereign. It's said that a second Tai Yin origin appeared in the sky of the southern continent, creating a spectacular scene. The power of an 8th realm Tao Sovereign was far beyond Lu Fengyao's, so the effect of the magical treasure was naturally different. This also indicated that the Yin-Yang 8 trigrams mirror was of an extremely high level, not an ordinary magical treasure." Lu Fengyao didn't speak, fully concentrating on activating the Yin-Yang 8 trigrams mirror. The light shone on the mist, and gradually, small light spots appeared on the evolving Tai Yin origin. The small light spots were magnified, revealing their true form, looking just like tiny worms. These worms were thousands of times smaller than a hair, making them invisible to the naked eye. The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus exclaimed, "So small. The Yin-Yang 8 trigrams mirror is indeed powerful, finding even the tiniest things." As she spoke, she glanced at Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu had discovered these soul worms with his own ability, making him even more mysterious and unpredictable. Lin Moyu asked, "Do you have any life-related magical treasures?" The holy maiden of the immortal lotus thought for a moment and took out a pure white lotus flower. This white lotus contains the power of the life Tao. Lu Fengyao also took out a magical treasure, which looked like a ball of cotton, also flowing with strong life force. Lin Moyu said, "These soul worms, living with death energy for so long, are afraid of abundant life force. When we leave the mist, you can use the magical treasures to deal with them. But don't use them now, these creatures should be dormant. If disturbed, they might attack in swarms." The holy maiden of the immortal lotus looked at Lin Moyu with her beautiful eyes. It was clear he had tested this before but didn't mention it until now. As for why he hadn't mentioned it before, it was understandable. If they hadn't come, there would have been no need to say anything. Lu Fengyao put away the yin-yang 8 trigrams mirror. "I originally wanted to see if I could eliminate them, but it seems better not to." The holy maiden of the immortal lotus said, "If these worms can indeed consume fortune, their large numbers will be very troublesome. The life force in their magical treasures was limited and not infinite." Lin Moyu smiled, "All right, I've told you everything I know. Let's go in. We have no way back now." No way back. Instinctively, the two women looked back and found that the canyon behind them had disappeared, and the mountain they had come from was nowhere to be seen. Now, there was only one path forward. Lin Moyu took the lead towards the mist, waving his hand before entering. "Hope to see you inside." Chapter 2797, 2797. Chapter 2797, only the last method is left. As Lin Moyu entered the mist, the holy maiden of the immortal lotus and Lu Fengyao lost their sense of him instantly. The mist obscured everything, making it impossible to sense anything. The holy maiden of the immortal lotus said, "Let's go in too." Lu Fengyao nodded, "Let's go. Good luck." The two smiled at each other and entered the mist together. The moment they stepped into the mist, their spiritual senses seemed to lose their function. They could neither see nor hear. Lu Fengyao took only 2 steps before trying to retreat, attempting to return the way she came. After taking a few steps back, she found herself still in the mist, with no way out. Helpless, she had no choice but to continue forward. Just as Lin Moyu had said, in the mist, no matter which direction you chose, the result would be the same. You couldn't be sure where you would end up, it all depended on luck. The holy maiden of the immortal lotus tried the same thing as Lu Fengyao, with the same result. In the mist, everything depended on luck. Lin Moyu stood still in the mist, not moving. Under the eye of the undead, he could clearly see the soul worms. A large number of soul worms had already attached themselves to him, or more accurately, to the divine light and death energy on him. The mouths of the soul worms kept vibrating, as if they were devouring fortune. As fortune decreased, luck would also decline. Although Lin Moyu couldn't see his own fortune, he could clearly see his luck through the explosion of fortune technique. He could see his luck value clearly, which was as high as 95, represented by a red light flickering in his eyes. Using the slow fortune technique, he could clearly see his luck. Lin Moyu stood still, waiting quietly. He noticed that the soul worms didn't attach endlessly. Once they reached a certain number, no more would come. Did they have consciousness, or are they following some rule? Lin Moyu speculated in his mind. He didn't move forward but chose to continue waiting. After about 5 minutes, his luck value silently dropped from 95 to 94. His luck decreased by 1 point, indicating that his fortune had already diminished. Sure enough, I guessed right. These soul worms really do devour fortune. The cloud mist sect of the past was truly amazing to create such a miraculous technique. Starting from luck to touch the great Tao of fortune, geniuses are indeed everywhere. Lin Moyu murmured to himself, feeling that the predecessors who created this technique in the cloud mist sect of the great world were geniuses among geniuses. They managed to present the intangible concept of luck in such a direct way. Even on the origin continent, no one could achieve this. The cloud mist sect's legacy could directly use fortune to enter the Tao. Those who entered the Tao through the power of the void were rare even on the origin continent. This showed what a prosperous era the great world was, full of geniuses and abundant fortune. Unfortunately, it still faced a great disaster in the end. Standing at different heights, perspectives on things change. From Lin Moyu's current realm, the great world's disaster wasn't just a matter of cause and effect, fortune might have played a part. The great world's fortune was too strong, so strong that it couldn't bear it, leading to its downfall. While Lin Moyu was pondering, his luck dropped again, from 94 to 93, and then to 92. Lin Moyu calculated the time, about every 10 minutes, 1 point of luck is lost. This also indicated that the speed of fortune depletion was constant, at least here, it wouldn't accelerate. 30 minutes have passed. They should have left by now. It's about time for me to act. A smile appeared on Lin Moyu's face in the mist. He stayed here not just to conduct experiments but also because he had his eyes on these soul worms. However, he wasn't sure if his actions would lead to any adverse consequences. So he waited for the Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus and Lu Fengyao to leave before acting. He didn't care about the Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus's fate, but he couldn't ignore Lu Fengyao's. Another reason was that Lin Moyu didn't want to reveal his trump card. Calculating the time, they should have left by now, so he had nothing to worry about. Let's see if you can devour me or if I can devour you. With a flick of his finger, the mist began to churn violently, and the bone hell emerged. A spark of fire appeared in the mist filled with divine light, and the temperature rose sharply. Lava poured down like a waterfall, drenching the mist. The mist rolled but remained unaffected. The mist was not afraid of the high temperature of the lava, and neither were the soul worms within it. Lin Moyu wasn't surprised the real action wasn't the lava but the hellish fiends. Hellish fiends devour everything. Lin Moyu wanted to see if they could devour the mist and the soul worms within it. Following his will, the hellish fiends emerged from the lava, starting to devour the mist and the soul worms within it. Besides the soul worms, there was also divine light and death energy in the mist, which the hellish fiends didn't spare. They could devour everything visible and invisible. Whether they could digest it was another matter. The eye of hell swept over, and the terrifying soul impact ravaged the mist. Lin Moyu clearly felt the soul worms tremble under the soul impact. However, they only trembled, the soul impact had no significant effect on them. In no time, the hellish fiends devoured large areas of the mist, but more mist flowed in, showing no sign of diminishing. Is it because there are too many of them? Lin Moyu's heart stirred, and the bone hell expanded to its limit, covering an area of 1,000 kilometers. The entire area, both above and below, was enveloped by the bone hell. Millions of hellish fiends attacked simultaneously, increasing the devouring speed further. But the result remained the same, the mist showed no sign of diminishing. No matter how much the hellish fiends devoured, the mist remained as dense as ever. Lin Moyu couldn't see with his naked eye and had to rely on the eye of the undead for a preliminary judgment. It seems the bone hell can't deal with this mist. A prehistoric sect with power surpassing the Tao sovereign realm is not easily dealt with. As the hellish fiends devoured madly, Lin Moyu's luck dropped from 92 to 90, on the verge of falling below 90. This meant his fortune had decreased again. Confirming that the bone hell was ineffective, Lin Moyu put it away. Let's try the second method. With a thought, the sound of Buddhist chants filled the air. The Buddha Kingdom Lich, at the third realm of Tao Sovereign, appeared beside him, chanting Buddhist scriptures in the mist. The Buddha Kingdom Lich, with its three-wheel halo, golden body, and solemn appearance, chanted, Amitabha, put down the butcher's knife, become a Buddha on the spot. Spell. Conversion. Endless golden light shot out, illuminating the mist. Lin Moyu's second attempt was to use the Buddha Kingdom Lich to forcibly convert the soul worms. If successful, the soul worms would become part of the eternal Buddha Kingdom, providing power to the Buddha Kingdom Lich. The golden light shone brilliantly, but the countless soul worms remained unmoved. The conversion failed, the soul worms couldn't be converted at all. With a sense of helplessness, Lin Moyu put away the Buddha Kingdom Lich. Only the last method is left. Chapter 2798, 2798. Chapter 2798. The correct method to enter the god-slaying sect. The experiments with the bone hell and the Buddha Kingdom Lich were considered failures. Among the methods Lin Moyu had thought of, only the last one remained, and it was the most violent one. Both the bone hell and the Buddha Kingdom Lich were relatively gentle methods, with the drawback of not knowing if they were effective. The last method, however, Lin Moyu had already proven effective, but it was too violent and might trigger some undesirable reactions. But now, he had no choice but to use it. Lin Moyu always felt that these soul worms were not simple. Moreover, the mist here wasn't something that could be easily passed through. From the earliest path, it was clear that the strong individuals of the god-slaying sect wouldn't do anything meaningless. Almost every step had its deep meaning. The mist and soul worms were the same. Relying on strong fortune to withstand the devouring of the soul worms was definitely not the optimal solution. White light appeared on his hand, and the vast power of life erupted from every part of his body. The mist immediately began to churn violently, and Lin Moyu vaguely heard sizzling sounds, as if something was being scorched. Indeed, something was being scorched. The soul worms were being burned to ashes by the power of life. At the same time, wisps of invisible smoke rose. Life and death counteract each other. These worms were filled with death energy, and the power of life was their deadly poison. As the power of life surged, the worms attached to his body were wiped out in the blink of an eye. At the same time, a large amount of death energy collided with the power of life and dissipated. Lin Moyu's vision cleared slightly, and the mist's death energy weakened. But in the next moment, a large amount of mist surged in, and a large number of soul worms attached themselves to him. The mist churned more violently, and the soul worms, which had been dormant, began to awaken. A large number of worms turned towards him, seemingly ready to pounce at any moment. Sure enough, using the power of life can eliminate the soul worms, but it will also trigger a worm riot. If I can't withstand it, the outcome will be dire. If I can withstand it, I wonder what the result will be. Lin Moyu didn't stop. Instead, the power of life on his body became even more radiant. The death energy that had previously enveloped him was completely wiped out by the power of life. Lin Moyu turned into a shining white beacon, glowing brightly in the mist. The worms, like moths to a flame, swarmed from all directions. Along with the worms came an endless amount of death energy. Both the death energy and the soul worms were wiped out by the power of life. Similarly, as the death energy and soul worms were wiped out, the power of life was continuously consumed. Life and death counteract each other, and after the collision, it was a matter of who was stronger. It could be life overcoming death, or death overcoming life. The mist before him gradually thinned, and his vision became clearer. Lin Moyu began to move, throwing high-grade source crystals to the corresponding positions. Using himself as the center, he began to set up an array. The array was only a fourth-grade array called the Overflowing Source Array. Its requirement was to use the cultivator as the array's core, enhancing the cultivator's power and reducing consumption. With the help of the Overflowing Source Array, 1 unit of power could be used as 2, and consumption could be halved. Combined with Lin Moyu's astonishing recovery ability, it achieved an effect of more than 1,000-fold increase. It wasn't that he didn't want to set up a stronger array, but this array was the most suitable here. Previously, in the mist, there was no sense of direction, making it impossible to set up an array on the spot. Now, it was possible. For Lin Moyu, a fourth-grade array was already second nature. In just a few minutes, the array was set up. Let's see who can outlast whom. Lin Moyu sat in the center of the array, and streams of life force flowed into it. With the amplification of the array and the source crystals, the same effect was achieved with significantly reduced consumption. If he truly couldn't outlast it, he could always choose to leave. Lin Moyu wouldn't really put himself in a deadly situation. He planned his steps carefully, always having a backup plan. He constantly speculated on the purpose of the god-slaying sex arrangement. Such strong individuals wouldn't do meaningless things. There had to be a purpose. Lin Moyu tried to think from their perspective, hoping to find the correct answer. In the mist, a 10-meter diameter light sphere shone brightly. Countless death energies and soul worms continuously crashed into the light sphere. The light sphere emitted sizzling sounds as countless soul worms were killed. After a long period of contemplation, Lin Moyu couldn't find the answer. He sighed softly, the information I have is still too limited to make accurate speculations. Further exploration is needed. Lin Moyu suddenly discovered that his luck had increased from 90 to 92. The increase in luck meant that his fortune was also recovering. Fortune depletion wasn't permanent, it would gradually recover. However, the recovery speed of fortune was very slow and might not fully recover. Judging by his luck value, Lin Moyu found that his fortune was recovering at an astonishing speed. The recovery speed of fortune is very fast. Could it be because of the soul worms? Soul worms can devour fortune, but can they also gain fortune? If that's the case, these worms are absolute treasures. Anything that can enhance fortune is a treasure. Various forces are constantly seeking ways to enhance fortune. If they knew that killing these worms could increase fortune, the ancestors would rush in with life force treasures to wipe out the worms. As more worms were killed, Lin Moyu's luck value returned from 92 to 95. A value of 95 was already the limit. Only by using the explosion of fortune technique could it temporarily exceed 95 and reach 100. However, a luck value of 100 could only be maintained for a short period before dropping. Lin Moyu was curious to see if he could increase his luck value beyond 95 without using the explosion of fortune technique. After a few more minutes, his luck value changed again. The red light became even more intense, and his luck value smoothly increased from 95 to 96. In an instant, Lin Moyu heard the sound of a dragon's roar, and his luck transformed into a dragon. As long as the luck value exceeded 95, luck would transform into a dragon. Simultaneously, Lin Moyu felt a red glow before his eyes, entering a state of great fortune. This was the first time he had entered a state of great fortune without the help of the mist. Lin Moyu was now 100% certain that killing the soul worms could enhance his fortune. I understand now. The correct method to enter the god-slaying sect is to kill these soul worms. The mist and the path serve the same purpose, to select those who can enter. The path filters out some, and the mist filters out more. Only those who pass using the correct method can truly enter the god-slaying sect. These soul worms are both a restriction and an opportunity. It depends on whether you can discover it. Lin Moyu's eyes shone brightly. He realized he had found the correct method. Chapter 2799, 2799. Chapter 2799, The Power of Luck. The ruins of the god-slaying sect are like a treasure chest. This chest has many hidden compartments, and while there are things in these compartments, they are not the best treasures. To open this chest and obtain the core treasures, one needs to use the correct method. Even a single misstep means you won't get the best items inside. Lin Moyu is now slowly disassembling the chest. Soul worms are opportunities, death energy is a restriction, so what is the divine light? Besides putting pressure on the body, the divine light seems to have no other use. It should have a use, it's just that it hasn't been discovered yet. His luck value rose again, from 96 to 97. Dragon roars echoed in his ears, and Lin Moyu could feel his luck increasing. When luck reaches a certain level, his spiritual sense can produce a weak response. When fortune is at its peak, everything becomes smooth. Lin Moyu guessed that to obtain the treasures within the god-slaying sect, one must have strong luck, which is why such a setup exists. Lu Fengyao and the Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus left the mist almost simultaneously and entered the mountains. They had already separated, completely unaware of each other's location or their own. Both took out life-related magical treasures, and powerful vitality swept through their bodies. Soon, they heard faint sizzling sounds. They knew that the soul worms attached to them had been killed. Both sighed in relief almost simultaneously. The Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus murmured, "Lin Daoyu, you truly are a remarkable person." Lu Fengyao also said, "Still, this lady is amazing for befriending someone like Lin Shaodi." No matter the time, Lu Fengyao never missed a chance to praise herself. The two chose different directions and eventually disappeared into the mountains and forests. Half a day later, Lin Moyu's luck value jumped again, reaching 100. A luck value of 100 was already the limit and could not go higher. When Lin Moyu used the explosion of fortune technique, his luck value also only reached 100. The dragon of luck constantly roared, echoing in his ears. At this moment, Lin Moyu could clearly sense his own fortune. With luck at its peak, he felt his fortune was about to materialize, transforming from the intangible to the tangible. The transformation of fortune from intangible to tangible was an exaggeration. If it truly happened, it would be a miracle. However, the soul worms and death energy continued to swarm. Lin Moyu murmured to himself, "It seems it's not over yet. Could it be that a luck value of 100 is not the limit? My power has been consumed by 1/3. I should be able to last for another half day or so." Lin Moyu decided to wait and see. If nothing changed by the time his power was exhausted, he would leave. The soul worms and death energy were endless, constantly swarming, and Lin Moyu's luck value remained stable at 100, no longer changing. Lin Moyu was not anxious and patiently waited. He had reached a critical point. If there was a higher level of luck beyond 100, it would require a qualitative change. Lin Moyu was very patient, maintaining the array while his power gradually diminished. Another half day passed, and Lin Moyu's power consumption exceeded 2/3. His luck value was still at 100, with no changes. If it were someone else, even a Tao sovereign like the Holy Maiden of the Immortal Lotus, it would be difficult to persist until now. Lin Moyu relied on his astonishing recovery ability and the help of the array to endure until now. This recovery ability was quite interesting, coming from the divine power of the Shunzhou Ding. The power given by the Shunzhou Ding usually remained hidden and almost unused. Yet, it played a significant role subtly. In terms of endurance, within the same realm, unless someone consumed pills like candy, no one could compare to Lin Moyu. A pill appeared in Lin Moyu's hand. When his power was further depleted, he would consume the pill and then leave. Time passed minute by minute, and the soul worms and death energy continued to swarm from all directions, showing no signs of decreasing. Lin Moyu's power was nearly exhausted, and the pill in his hand was ready to be consumed at any moment. However, Lin Moyu felt somewhat unwilling. He always felt that he was just a hair's breadth away. Although he knew it might be an illusion, he still felt a bit unwilling. Should I try again? Lin Moyu still had the option of using the rebirth technique. After rebirth, everything would start anew. Although his power could be restored, Lin Moyu wasn't sure if the temporary increase in luck would also disappear. Fortune is a tricky thing. The luck gained this time was different from the luck granted by the great Tao of Fortune from Xiaowu. There was a significant difference. After some thought, Lin Moyu made a decision: let's try one more time. With a thought, the explosion of fortune technique activated. His luck value had already reached 100, the limit after multiple uses of the explosion of fortune technique. The luck value had been stable at 100 for a long time, and Lin Moyu decided to use the explosion of fortune technique to push it further. If it worked, that would be best. If it didn't, he would leave without hesitation. The dragon of luck roared, shaking more intensely than before. Lin Moyu's perception of his own fortune became clearer, indicating that his fortune was gradually increasing. Lin Moyu had an epiphany: luck has reached its peak, but fortune hasn't. If I can push my fortune forward, it might push my luck in return. And pushing luck can also enhance fortune. The two complement each other and depend on each other. With this thought, Lin Moyu flicked a drop of ancestral water onto himself, and the power of faith burned fiercely. For the first time, he used ancestral water and the power of faith simultaneously on the explosion of fortune technique. The explosion of fortune technique pushes luck, not fortune. Although the two are closely related, pushing fortune with luck is like a small horse pulling a large cart, extremely difficult. But Lin Moyu had no other choice. He couldn't influence fortune directly, so he could only use the explosion of fortune technique to enhance his luck and thereby affect his fortune. Whether it would work, he didn't know. Lin Moyu didn't seek Xiaowu's help. Although Xiaowu could easily enhance fortune with good results, such enhancement was temporary. Even if it broke through the limit with Xiaowu's help, it would be hard to tell if it was a real breakthrough or just an illusion. If it were an illusion, it would eventually revert to its original state, which Lin Moyu didn't want. Unless it was a critical moment requiring immense fortune, he wouldn't ask Xiaowu for help. The explosion of fortune technique reached its limit with the dual support of ancestral water and the power of faith. No one had ever used this method to push the explosion of fortune technique to its limit. Lin Moyu felt a tremendous roar in his soul world, and the endless dragon roars suddenly ceased. The dragon of luck collapsed. His soul world shook violently, and infinite power surged from the void, pressing into his soul world. This power ignored the barriers of his soul world, crashing in and landing on his soul body. The invisible power made his soul body extremely uncomfortable. Lin Moyu was shocked. Is this the power of fortune? Chapter 2800. 2800. Chapter 2800. What I should have thought of earlier. Lin Moyu felt the existence of the power of fate for the first time. Anyone above the level of a celestial sovereign is generally aware of the power of fate and knows that there is a path of fate in this world. However, fate is too elusive to touch or truly feel. Only some beings with extremely high realms might be able to truly touch a trace of the power of fate. Even if they do, it remains vague and unclear. Very few can, like Lin Moyu, truly feel the power of fate in a meaningful way. Feeling the power of fate is both a blessing and a curse. If one can withstand it, it is a blessing. If not, the backlash from fate can be disastrous, potentially fatal. At this moment, no level of cultivation is of any use. What matters is whether one's life is tough enough to endure. Lin Moyu's mind was clear. The moment the power of fate arrived, he knew everything. At this moment, no spell, secret technique, or world tree could help. Perhaps at this moment, there are very few things in this world that can help. The power of fate hit like a storm, landing on his soul, causing waves of pain. The pain from the soul is unbearable for ordinary people. But now, he must endure it. If he gives up, the result will be death. Lin Moyu trembled all over. He could feel his soul being corroded by the power of fate. The extremely dense power of fate was like a poisonous drug corroding his soul. The yellow light bestowed by the soul gem could resist various soul attacks, but it was useless against the power of fate. Anything taken to the extreme will have the opposite effect, and the power of fate is no exception. If the power of fate is too immense and cannot be endured, it becomes poison. No, if this continues, my soul will collapse. Although I won't die and can use rebirth to resurrect, this time it will be a true failure. There must be a way. The god-slaying sect wouldn't set it up this way if there were no way out. It's not a matter of realm. In that era, there must have been something that could help the soul withstand the power of fate. Lin Moyu watched as his soul gradually disintegrated, but his thoughts became unprecedentedly clear. Thoughts flashed through his mind like lightning, and various methods emerged in his mind. Finally, Lin Moyu thought of a method. He raised the scourge staff, and his vast soul power surged into the balance gem on the staff. The balance gem was the third gem he found. At that time, it trapped Shaosan for many years. But because of it, the power of the two original spirit veins at the boundary generated balance. If he could activate it, perhaps a balance could be created between his soul and the power of fate. However, like the other two gems, it was aloof and had never been activated despite many attempts. The scourge staff was only occasionally used to smash things, and the soul gem had moved a couple of times. Now, with no other option, Lin Moyu decided to take a desperate measure and see if he could make the balance gem move. Move quickly, or I'll die. Lin Moyu's soul shouted again and again. The world tree behind his soul trembled, but it seemed powerless. This was its domain. The world tree could only replenish Lin Moyu's soul power, hoping to help him endure a bit longer. Despite Lin Moyu's shouts, the balance gem remained motionless. Lin Moyu even felt a sense of disdain from the balance gem, as if it looked down on him. Seeing his soul about to collapse and unable to use rebirth, Lin Moyu had another idea. A spirit flower fell and enveloped him. The spirit flower began to heal his soul, but the speed of healing was not as fast as the corrosion. Moreover, while healing the soul, the spirit flower had to withstand the impact of the power of fate, causing it to deteriorate rapidly. A single spirit flower lasted less than a minute before exhausting all its power. Lin Moyu's soul recovered slightly, but it only bought him a few more minutes. Lin Moyu thought and summoned a second spirit flower. This time, before the spirit flower could reach his soul, the power of fate had already blasted it away. As expected, external forces, unless of a high enough level, were of little help. Now, it seemed Lin Moyu had only two paths left. One was to continue enduring the impact of the power of fate and see if he could hold out until the end. If not, his soul would collapse, and rebirth would occur, marking the failure of this fate ascension. The other was to give up on the fate ascension and choose to fail actively. Both paths led to failure, which Lin Moyu did not want. There must be a third way. The balance gem won't move, what about the soul gem? Lin Moyu gritted his teeth and rushed towards the soul gem. The soul gem had moved before, so perhaps there was a chance this time. The soul gem could protect the soul, so it might be useful. Using soul power to impact the soul gem, Lin Moyu tried to awaken it. But it remained as aloof as the balance gem, unmoving. Lin Moyu felt the same disdain from the soul gem, as if it was telling him he was wrong. Wrong? Wrong where? As the situation worsened, Lin Moyu suddenly thought of something. Wrong, really wrong. The scourge staff can't help me through this. The real key is it. He transmitted a thought to the world tree, bring it over. The branches of the world tree flew out, bringing over the immovable divine cauldron. The divine cauldron fell beside his soul, and Lin Moyu immediately entered it. Inside the divine cauldron, divine light filled the air, and golden divine power rippled. As soon as Lin Moyu entered, he was enveloped by the golden light, though part of his soul remained outside. The golden light formed a barrier, seemingly unwelcoming to Lin Moyu. However, his soul showed joy. Under the golden light, the power of fate seemed suppressed, unable to corrode his soul further, halting its collapse. As the power of fate continued to pour in, the divine cauldron erupted with strong golden light. The once fierce power of fate became as docile as a kitten, obediently merging with his soul. Lin Moyu's soul began to recover rapidly, continuously absorbing the power of fate. He breathed a sigh of relief, knowing he had passed this test. Once the power of fate fully merged with his soul, his fate would ascend. To what extent, he did not know. Indeed, solving this problem couldn't rely on the scourge staff. It wasn't that it wouldn't move, but that it was useless if it did. The divine cauldron was the key. It once suppressed the 9 continents, including countless original spirit veins. Original spirit veins can suppress fate, so naturally, the divine cauldron can too. I should have thought of this earlier. How foolish of me.